Alrighty, well, welcome to this week's Talk Ask Us Anything. Uh, as usual, it's been a fairly busy week. Obviously, one of the biggest news items this week was Tesla's Q1 delivery report. Basically, they've delivered a record nearly 185,000 cars in Q1. And that's sort of nice because basically that's about, well, Perth has done about 1,000th of that delivery just at the end of the quarter, which is pretty cool. And they've also produced about 180,000 cars, so they've delivered roughly 5,000 more than they produced. And a lot of that has got to do with the couple of thousand Model S and X's that were delivered last quarter that of course weren't produced because Tesla stopped producing S's and X's at the end of last year. So obviously, as far as the analysts are concerned and Tesla's share price, it's certainly improved and has gone a bit positive. This clearly puts Tesla on a trajectory to well and truly exceed 750,000 cars this year, which is greater than 50% more than it produced last year. So really, Tesla is on that fantastic growth trajectory that is at the moment unstoppable. So that's pretty cool. An interesting thing that will also bolster Tesla's earnings is a report that Volkswagen is actually buying credits from Tesla to meet China's environmental standards. So obviously it's similar to the European case whereby the car makers have an average fuel efficiency and they have to meet that, and if they don't, they have to get credits or basically pay a fine. So it looks like Volkswagen is actually buying the credits from the cars that Tesla is selling into China. So that's sort of a great extra source of income, sort of from nowhere really, which is great to see. The last little bit of news is that this was by IDRA, who produced the GigaPress. And it looks like by the end of this year, Tesla is going to be in possession of about 11 GigaPresses throughout its different manufacturing plants. So currently it has 2 running and installed, and there are going to be another 9 this year. Hopefully 1 or 2 of those will include the 8,000-ton GigaPress for the Cybertruck, which will be installed at Giga Austin, which is, yeah, it's going to be a great thing to see up and running, especially once we see some of those Cybertrucks rolling off the production line, hopefully by the end of the year. That's the main Tesla news. I think we might as well go straight to introductions. I see a few new faces. So perhaps, I think Max, this is your first session?
Yes, it is. Thanks, Harold. I've seen your name around the place. I'm hanging out for a Model Y, as I'm sure a lot of other people are. Obviously, nobody knows when they're going to produce a model right-hand drive Model Y, but I'm ready. I'll probably have to sell some of my shares in Tesla to get it, but I think there's other people in the same situation. I normally have a regular function on a Wednesday evening, but it's cancelled. They don't have it during school holidays. That's why I'm here. I've been waiting for months.
Cool. Well, actually, to that end, you can actually participate vicariously via YouTube. So if you just search Tokwa on YouTube, all of these sessions are recorded and put onto YouTube weekly. So if you suffer from any insomnia, you can certainly put us on late at night. And some of our sessions go for, well, nearly Ben-Hur sort of lengths of time. So I think our record's about 3 hours and 45 minutes, roughly. And if that doesn't lull you off to sleep, then nothing will. But yeah, we do record them mainly for the benefit of people like yourselves, that can't always participate. But in any case, welcome. And I think Steve, I don't.
Yeah.
Welcome.
Hi, Harold. Recently took delivery of my Model 3 long range. I was at Tokwa's meetup on Sunday. I spoke with you there. Got to meet quite a few people, which is fabulous.
Cool.
Just been at Margaret River, came back, charged Fox, worked one day, failed the next. Fortunately, I had topped up as soon as I got to Margaret River, so I had enough to get home, even with the diversion through Augusta. So,
Cool. Great.
That's why I bought the long range.
Good choice. Good choice. So just for completeness on the long range, obviously you'll notice when you're charging, it has little divisions that start at 50% and go up to 100%. And you'll notice that they have gradients that say daily for the first
90%
4 of those. And the last two, well, actually the last one is reserved for trip. So ideal to set the slider to 80% or 90%. And then obviously if you're on a long trip, it's absolutely safe to charge to 100%, as long as you use that charge fairly quickly from when you put it in.
Now that's the process that I took before heading down to Margaret River, and I was glad I did, because when I got there I had 51%. As I said, fill up with the CCS in Margaret River in Rockcliffe Street. Then but that one I think I only did to 90% because I knew I was going to go to Augusta and a bit of running around. Then my intention this morning was to fill up, but of course nothing was working and ChargeFox couldn't fix it remotely. So because I had enough, I was able to get home with 130 range, still indicated. I'm not going to put that to the test, but that's what it indicated.
Cool. So you didn't bother to top up at Eton or anything on the way home?
Didn't need to. I had my motorhome as well, and we talked about that on Sunday. And so the Tesla was only doing 90 Ks, which is economy range.
Yep, absolutely.
Excellent. My wife got bored and then took off.
You get that. And I think, Kristen, you're on last week. John, I think you're new. Correct me if I'm wrong. You're muted, John. Can't hear you.
Delivery of a 3 Series last week.
Yes, awesome. SR Plus or long range?
I think of the Plus.
SR Plus, cool. So in your case, John, you can freely set your charging slider up to 100%, because if you look on the charge screen, all it has is the little tick marks and no commentary. It just has basically the little graduations that indicate between 50 and 100%.
Okay.
So in your car, and for anyone else who has a Shanghai built SR Plus, which all of the ones that were delivered last month are, you can happily charge to 100% all day, every day, and you don't need to worry. So that can be quite useful. It actually means that you get a bit more daily use out of the battery pack than some of the larger pack cars, where you've got to be aware of this 90% sort of ideal charging setting. So welcome and congratulations on your car. Incidentally, is it white by any chance?
Yes, it's shiny white.
Cool. I sort of like to refer to it as poverty pearl white because it's the free color, but it is an awesome color, beautiful paint.
I think they ought to have green available.
Yes, Tesla have had the 5 colors. I think it's 5 off the top of my head. Those same 5 colors now for a couple of years, and it doesn't look like they're going to be changing them. No. In the past, Tesla have had more variety, but they've sort of trimmed it down to what they have now, and it looks like that's not expanding, unfortunately. But yeah, you're right. A green. Tesla used to have a green for the Model S's, but that was deleted. I think about 4.5 years ago, unfortunately. But of course, you can wrap your car. So you can get, particularly the white cars or black cars, you can very easily get them wrapped, vinyl wrapped, in any color you like and in any finish. So you can have it glossy, you can have a glossy green, you could have a matte green, or anything in between.
What does that cost, you know?
I think it varies from about $3,500 to about $5,000. And one side effect, or one bonus, I guess, of having the car wrapped, if you wanted to wrap it for color purposes, is you also get a modicum of paint protection as well against stone chips. So that can be quite useful. I think the colored wraps aren't as durable as the protective wraps, but they certainly do give you some protection, and obviously give you the choice of any color or pattern that you like. So we know there's one car in particular that has actually got a camouflage wrap, a bluish camouflage wrap. We actually saw that at our meetup on Sunday at the Easter egg hunt at Kent Street Weir. And you can get, you know, any sort of wraps. It's really, you know, anything you can imagine, and probably some finishes you can't imagine that you can get in wraps. So if you are definitely keen on a green car or green finish, then you certainly can do that to your car quite safely. And the wraps too are completely non-harmful to the car, so they can be entirely removed, and you can restore your car back to its original finish.
Thanks.
What about the, I think Elon said he likes his burgundy that he's got on one of his Model Ys or something.
I think that's the Model S. It would be the signature red.
That's the one, yes.
Yep, signature red.
It's a much deeper red than the red that is currently available.
Yes.
Looks nice.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. And that used to come out as an option for the very first batches of cars, which were the Signature series, which I think included it was models S, X, and 3s. I'm not sure about Ys. But yeah, signature red, that's right. It's like a burgundy, you're right there, Nigel. It's like a burgundy sort of finish. Quite nice, quite attractive if you're into burgundy. But I think, yeah, Tesla, like I said before, basically consolidated their colors to a fairly limited palette.
And until the new paint shop in Berlin Gigafactory gets going, there's talk of some new colors coming out then.
Yeah, that's right, which will be very interesting. Of course, I guess that will just make us jealous because Shanghai doesn't have that paint shop, obviously, because Berlin's the first one to get it. But they may, I think Tesla were talking about some of these new factory features will be sort of retrofitted in time to the other ones. But clearly, Model 3 is now slated to come from Shanghai, and it'll be doing that probably forever. So I guess we'll have to wait and see. And the Model Y, getting back to the thing of the Model Y there, Max, you're right, no one knows when that's coming. I think pessimistically, one problem we have is that the demand for Model Ys in China is accelerating. So I guess in one sense, it probably makes sense for Tesla to focus on that local demand, because you're going to make more money. Well, I guess it depends, but you know, you don't have to ship them any great distance. All the customers that you ever need are sort of local. So yeah, we really don't know. There's quite a few of us in the room, and many others not here tonight that would absolutely jump at ordering a Model Y as soon as it becomes available. It really is an awesome car. You know, the same size as a Model 3, basic footprint, but you've got a higher seating position and you've got the hatchback, so you can put much more in the back of the car, which is pretty awesome. And welcome, John. I actually recall seeing you pick up your car. Well, it must have been a couple of weeks ago now. It's been, time flies.
You were
That's right.
most helpful.
Oh, sorry, the other John. Sorry, John Weaver. Sorry, the other one. I do recall you're in Kojonup, John. So how's your car going?
Well, it's going well. I'm a bit intimidated by all the various options and switches and everything, but I'm getting there slowly.
Yeah, cool. It's something that, as you can tell, you don't really have to be fully aware of immediately. It's stuff you can get into later. Most of the settings, I think, on your car were pretty much set to where they sort of roughly should be. Now, your car was an SR Plus.
I'm not sure of the SR Plus. I'm not sure of the detail of that, but it was a long range version.
Oh, it was long range. Oh, okay, cool. Okay, so in your case, the only thing you need to worry about is on your charge setting, just make sure the slider is set to 90%.
Yeah, actually, I left.
Yeah, cool. And obviously, the great thing is, being in Kojonup, you've got a totally free fast DC charger at your disposal.
Yeah, it's just down the road. It's 25 kilometres away from home, actually, but
Yep. Yeah. Cool.
I've got a bit of a problem in that being in the country and on a farm, I've got a lot of bumps to go over, and I'm occasionally scraping the bottom of the car. Is there any way I can actually elevate it?
Better time.
Richard, you got any knowledge on any lift kits or anything for Model 3s?
I know there's a lot of aftermarket kits where you drop the car to get, more sporty, but lift kits, I don't know. There's everything online. There's so many Model 3s around. Just do a search for it. Yeah, higher lift springs. Someone would have done it, I'm sure.
Yeah, indeed. It's sort of, it would make sense that if they're going to go lower, they're also going to go higher, I guess, although there might be more of a lowering tendency for performance. Is it scraping on ruts on the road or potholes, or is it just the roughness of the road in general? Dirt roads, I guess.
In general, it's okay. It's just there's a couple of when we leave the bitumen, we have to come up about a kilometre of dirt track, and occasionally there are a couple of bumps that I have to go over, and I can hear it scraping underneath. It's not serious, but it's
Yeah, Mountain Pass Performance do a 1 3/4 inch Model 3Y suspension lift kit, $500.
What was it? Where was it?
Mountain Pass Performance.
As performance. Oh,
mountainpassperformance.com.
You just got to make sure that
just
your
Googled-
warranty isn't affected.
I just
Because you-
Googled Model 3 lift kit and it came straight up.
Yeah, but you got to watch the warranty, because I know Tesla are a bit, if you do anything and they think it might have affected whatever your fault is, they'll go, nah, you've stuffed your warranty, goodbye.
Yeah, but it has to be proven to cause the problem.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, but if you've lifted it and the top of the glass gets a crack in it, they could still blame it.
I think they'd have trouble with that one.
There's
Yeah,
a famous saying in Norway, apparently, with the Tesla owners that because no one in Norway has standard tires or rims, because they have to change summer and winter tires and things. Apparently, Tesla are famous for blaming different tires on all sorts of woes. Even including problems with the air conditioner or whatever. They just say, "Oh, it must have been the tires." But yeah, I guess you're right, Nigel. With that caveat, I guess what you could do, John, is if you do find a lift kit, actually tell Tesla about it and say, hey, you know, what do you think of this? And the guys at service will either say, well, we don't know, or we don't care, or whatever, just to cover yourself. But I think, as Richard has sort of indicated, that actually, you know, a car company can't just blanketly deny a warranty claim just because. There has to be a causal link. So yeah, you know. But yes, they are out. So what was that, Mountain Pass? Did you say, Richard?
Yeah, Mountain Pass Performance, they do lots of stuff. But just Google Model 3 lift kit. It took me 10 seconds to do that. And there it was.
Cool.
Good luck.
And of course, Max, you won't need to do that on the Model Y because it already is slightly lifted, I think. I think the suspension is slightly higher and the ground clearance is higher on a Model Y. So, well, not that we can tell anytime soon because we don't have any here, but still. Oh, and speaking of which, it looks like the service center slash showroom is sort of getting back to normal business. So they are offering test rides and test drives now, and I dare say they'll be getting close towards doing an official opening, hopefully sometime soon, which will be pretty cool. And for those who've had their cars delivered, remember that Harry did always say, don't be a stranger, and that, you know, you're most welcome to come back and just chill out and, you know, enjoy the atmosphere and talk all things Tesla. I think tomorrow, I think it's the 8th and the 9th, there are invitations out to do a refresher on the cars. I think there was a flyer that was put in some of the cars. Is that right, Steve? You're nodding there. Is that?
Do that. Yeah, I remember looking at that. I'm getting ready to head over to the east, as we talked about on Sunday. So I switched off in my mind, but now you've mentioned it, I do recall. And it's early, like 8 or 9 in the morning.
Yes. And I think
Yeah,
it was the 8th and the 9th.
Yes.
Cool.
Something like that is my memory. I don't have it in front of me, unfortunately.
So you're going over east. When are you leaving, Steve?
Saturday.
Cool. So you've got your itinerary all planned out?
We've got a plan, and we've got the fallback positions planned. And over the next couple of days, we're actually booking the first couple of nights accommodation.
Oh, cool. And then the rest.
We're both retired, so we're not going to be too tight with the itinerary. Just working around charging.
Yes. Now you've got all the charging accoutrements that you need?
Yes, I think so.
Cool. Awesome.
Yep.
Fantastic. I mean, one thing I've gone around, Rob Dean has, a few of us have gone around, well, across Nullarbor or right around Australia for that matter. And yeah, one of the things is if you're a bit flexible, that can be quite handy because you may have a faster day than others. And I must admit, I didn't book anything. I traveled in November and it wasn't particularly busy. Well, except for Karratha, where I had to miss that and go to Wim Creek instead, or press on to Wim Creek, which is, by the way, not open at the moment. So that's just a little caveat there for anyone going north. But yeah, if you're pretty flexible, then you can always just go to the next roadhouse and stay there. Or,
yeah, well, the plan is to try to do a top up halfway through the day and fill up at the evening.
Yes. Have you worked out roughly how many Ks you want to do each day, roughly?
Yeah, about 400.
Oh, well, that's fantastic. Oh, that's
Yeah.
dead easy then. That'll be very relaxing.
Yeah,
So-
the idea is not to push it, and like we did for Margaret River, we'll have the motorhome with us. So we even have like a service vehicle.
Cool. Excellent.
Well, I've got the microphone. A small issue I noticed this afternoon while I was reversing the car, I was outside ready to connect up to the charger here in Rockingham. Is there supposed to be 2 reversing lights or 1?
No, 1.
Okay, good. Just thought I'd
Um,
clarify that because it looked weird.
Yeah, and to be honest, or as a Model X owner, where Tesla indulged me with 2 reversing lights and 2 fog lights, it does look strange to see 1 reversing light, but Tesla's not the only company that does that. I've got a couple of kids that have got Hyundai Konas, and one of the comments was, "Oh, the reversing light's broken," and it's like, no, they only has 1.
Yeah, we had a Peugeot which has only 1 reversing light as well. So we assumed that it was probably designed, but we wanted to make sure it was a design, not a flaw.
Yes, unfortunately, or fortunately, it's not a flaw. It's just it's a
It's a feature.
yes, it's a austerity feature.
Hmm.
But anyway, thankfully, unlike the States, we do have amber indicators. Whereas
Yes.
I think, I'm not sure about the 3s, but some Teslas actually just use the brake light blinking on that
Yeah,
side.
the standard American thing, which is really confusing.
Oh, it looks really strange. It's
Yep.
quite disturbing, really, to be honest. But no. So yes, your single reversing light and fog lights. Actually, I'm not even sure if a Model 3 has fog lights.
Yeah, it has rear fog light on the panel. I haven't clicked it yet because there's so many things to click on the panels. But yeah, I remember seeing it there.
Cool. Yeah, like I was saying before, with the 400 Ks a day sort of daily target, you're going to have a very comfortable ride.
Yep.
And the great thing is you won't be spending too much time by the side of the road charging, because you only need, an hour top up, and that'll get you the rest of the 400 Ks. So that's totally cool.
Yep. And then charge overnight at the caravan park or whatever I can get.
Now, sorry, you were long range or SR Plus?
Long range.
Long range. So what you can actually do to save a bit of time is overnight charge to 90%. And then when you first wake up, while your car's still plugged in, just set the slider on your phone to 100%. So then while you're having breakfast and getting ready or whatever, in the next, 3/4 of an hour or an hour or so, you'll actually gain the best part of that last 10% or near enough to it. And then that way you're not stressing the battery, but you're sort of like minimizing the amount of time by the side of the road. So that's a great thing. You don't have to worry about adjusting the current down so it'll finish charging when you think you're going to wake up. It'll get to 90%, by midnight or whatever. And then you just top up the last bit in the morning. If you remember doing so, but you'll get into the groove.
Yeah, we probably will. Yeah.
So you're going Sydney, Melbourne, you're going up decent seaboard?
It's to catch up with family over in Canberra.
Cool.
And family up in Brisbane. So
fantastic. So once you get to Clare, it's just supercharging all the way.
Yeah, I saw that on the plug share.
Yeah, it's literally once you get to Clare, that's it. You're just supercharging. It means you don't care what the speed limit is or what speed you're doing, as long as it is a speed limit, obviously. But it's just super quick, and it's fantastic.
And I've got 1,500 kilometers to use by, September?
Ah, cool. Well, you can easily use that, or at least give it a good shake on your trip. So that's fantastic. Awesome. Has anyone else got any sort of questions or anything of their cars? Anything that they're not sure of? Oh, actually, Yun, I just noticed you are.
We are back.
Oh, yeah. You're totally back.
I just wanted to highlight our shiny white is no longer shiny. Not poverty white. It's shiny white, full of bugs. We made it back here at with 6%. So we went to Lake Grace and decided we'll risk it. It said we'll have 6 to 7% on the way back. Made it back with 6%. So we're just charging now.
So you mean 6% from Lake Grace?
From Lake Grace, obviously you can't do that journey from Perth to Lake Grace, but definitely because we're going back downhill, you can definitely do that.
Yep.
we arrived at Lake Grace from where were we? Ravensthorpe. Ravensthorpe to Lake Grace. They were out of power. The town was out of power. Couldn't.
What-
they
what-
didn't have power.
Which town?
Lake Grace. So I checked in with PlugShare and I just made a note. They were out of power, so we had to wait like 20 minutes before the power came back on. But
Right.
at least there was a DC charger there. The Wi-Fi trick definitely worked, going to the information center, so that was good.
Great.
Um,
So just so
Yeah.
Ewan, just a sec, I'll just repeat that from last week. So one trick is at Lake Grace, if you have Optus, it hasn't got, I don't think there's any phone service there in Lake
No,
Grace.
just Telstra. Just
So it's
Telstra.
just Telstra. So if you've got Vodafone as well, it's probably the same situation. So to trigger, to basically to turn on the charger or to start charging at Lake Grace, you need to use the ChargeFox app. Well, actually, you can use a RFID card from ChargeFox or one that you have set up on your ChargeFox account. But if you haven't done that, what you can do is just walk up. Now, you need 2 people to do this. You walk up to the visitor center, tether your phone to their free Wi-Fi, and then you can trigger a charge on the app. And you just have to, yes, that's it just there. And you just have to wave at your partner or whoever that's near the car to actually plug the car in and start charging. So yeah, there it is down there. That's it. That's where the charger is down the road, down the hill actually. So yeah, thanks for that, Ewan. But yeah, so just reiterating, that's one trick that you may need to do at Lake Grace. But you can log on to your ChargeFox account, and if you've got something like a Transperth card, your Smart Rider, you can actually you can actually enter the details of it, the serial number of it, on the ChargeFox website, and then that can become your token to start charges on the ChargeFox, well, wherever ChargeFox is the provider of choice for those chargers. So yeah, go on, Ewan. So how did Hyden go and all that? That all went smoothly?
That was a trip. Hyden was a trip. Made 2 wrong turns, so we went out from Perth out to Hyden. Made 2 mistakes, which cost us an hour and a half. Out at Cogen. Is Cogen?
Cogen.
Corrigan.
No.
Corrigan.
Yeah.
I borrowed a plug from the Tesla Club. It's a 32. I've got a 32 pin from you, Harold, but in
Yes.
that location, it was only a 20.
Yes.
So I had to, we were short by like 3-4%. So we had to top up for just an hour and a half with a 240 12 amp plug.
Yep.
Arrived at Hyden with 12 kilometers or 3%.
Cool.
Otherwise, if we didn't make the 2 mistakes, we would arrive there in a single charge. So it would have been fine. So we've done around 330 on a standard range plus.
Yep.
Around the 105 kilometer hour mark. So it's not too bad.
Yep.
Hyden, probably spent 5 hours in Hyden charging. So we did 1 hour charge there. Then went out to Ways Rock and then went back for 4 hours for a full charge to make it to Ravensthorpe and then Esperance.
Yep.
So can't wait until there's some DC charges around in those locations. But yeah, 4 hours is a long time.
Look, it is. It is. There's no sugarcoating it. It's a long time. You know, if Wave Rock was a lot closer within walking distance, that would have been totally cool. But it's not. I mean, look, the good news is, I guess, that within the next 2 years, which is still a long time, but it is 2 years, the state government has committed to having those charges in covering most of WA, or at least the coastal areas of WA. So, you know, I'm not sure that Hyden is actually on that part of that rollout, so that's not going to help there, but it'll certainly help going up north. And well, actually, Ravensthorpe would be on that map. So, for instance, you would have noticed at Ravensthorpe, you've got to charge slowly there on the AC. So there will be definitely a charger at Ravensthorpe. and obviously at Esperance. Did you go to Stonehenge by any chance?
Yes, we did. Yeah, it was good because we arrived, or we did most of the site visits on Tuesday, so everyone left on the Monday. But and so it was pretty good. All the sites were pretty free, so that was pretty good. Went off road, went on the beach, so we got photos. We'll share those when we get back and rest it up.
Yeah, cool.
It was a good trip, but over 3 days when you spend 2 days driving literally and charging, and 1 day down in Esperance, probably should have stayed there a few more days longer. It was good. It was a good trip. Got to see what the car can handle. We didn't bring a spare tire. I was risking it, so we made it. So on the back of my mind, going down there, there's 200 kilometers left. At least, hopefully, just get to Esperance. Anything happen, you can get a tire there over the next day or two. But then coming back, let's hopefully get a flat tire. 2 months ago we had a flat tire, so I got that fixed up and called you as well, Harold. But
Yes.
I know the old deal, so it's all good. It was good. I did only have one question because we're coming back and we're at, let's say, 10%. The distance remaining, so I just said 1% is around 3 kilometers, for example, when you're driving at 110 kilometers. We're at, let's say, 10%, and we had, 10%, 30 kilometers, but the range or distance to the destination was 40 kilometers, for example. So we still technically got less charge, and it's sort of gone, when is this downhill going to start to pick up that energy? Are we going to run out of power before it starts regenerating? So one of my thoughts was, if you were going to one of the mountains in the east, let's say the Blue Mountain, and you started with 100%, and you wanted to cross the other side, would you run out of power before you start going downhill? Because they use an altitude system. Is that how Tesla calculates the distance?
It does. So if you on your screen, you click on the up arrow and then click on energy, and if you have a destination set, it will actually show you a graph of the battery, the state of charge, and it will project all the way to your destination. So if you see all green, then it's all pretty good. Or if you're below 20%, it shows a bit of amber. And if you're below, I can't remember if it's 5 or 10%, there'll be a 10%. red section.
Yeah, 10% red. Yeah.
So you'll actually see that graph. You'd normally think it would be like a straight line facing towards the lower right, but it's often a little bit bumpy. So when it goes a bit steeper downwards, that means you're going uphill. And sometimes when you go in, or say from Albany on Albany Highway, or from the Great Eastern Highway, when you're getting close to Perth, you'll actually see that it actually rises upwards. About the state of charge, actually, the curve bends and goes upwards, and that's where you're actually regenerating as you go downhill. So I guess you're right. If you're in like the Blue Mountains or wherever, let's just say if you're got to go up a hill, and then you sort of go down a hill, if your destination is sort of very close to that point, you might not be able to make it up the hill in the first place, sort of. But actually, the car actually shows that on the graph.
Okay.
So I guess that's one case where if you're really close, cutting it finely, you might not make it. I had a situation where I went from Jervis Bay Territory, which is south of Sydney, and I was going towards Canberra. And you got to cross, I don't know, whatever those hills are. And yeah, I must admit, I was a bit nervous because the car was a bit pessimistic, and I was chewing a lot of juice going uphill. But then it plateaued and I went slightly downhill, and it was sort of okay. But the car sort of does know what it's going to do. So if it's getting nervous, I don't know about you, but did it say anything like, to reach your destination, you should do no more than 110 or 100?
Yeah, it said 105 anyway. It did a few calculations here and then, recalculating. So yeah, it was pretty close. But you go, well, we got down to 5% at one stage, and it's like, oh, there's 15 kilometers. Well, 5% around times 3 is 15 kilometers, and go, well, there's still 20 left, for example.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, come on.
But,
But you know,
that
we're
was-
in the city, so you could just go knock on someone's house and like, you're really running low if you see 1% or something. Or, you know, I'll give you $10 to charge for like an hour or something, you know, last minute. But
Yeah.
if you're out in nowhere, then you can't even do
You wouldn't
that.
be the first.
but obviously this was it was saying this before you hit the downhill at Kalamunda. So yeah, and that makes a huge difference. I remember being in Europe, and I don't know, I traveled something like 300 kilometers, and I only used less than 200 of the actual battery, because a lot of it was downhill and it was just regenerating the whole way. So it was basically freewheeling or actually replenishing the battery. So, I mean, thankfully we don't have any large mountains like you do in Europe, but look, it's just part of the adventure. And the good thing is the car knows what to do. So even though it looked a bit scary, the car was totally calm about it, and, you know, got you there. And of
Can I
course,
just sorry, can I just
Yes.
chime in on the charging network thing? So I actually looked on I re-looked at the media statement on the WA Gov website, and it actually says WA charging network due to start construction in the 2021 to 2022 tax year, and is expected to be completed within 3 years. So that tells me 2025.
oh,
So-
right.
Contact your local member, who is no doubt going to be Labour, and say, do you mind honouring this commitment to building a network within 2 years?
Yeah, and in fact, there's no reason to not exceed it, because the sooner you can cover Western Australia in fast DC charging, the sooner people in the outer regions can finally see that it makes so much sense to get an E EV.
Indeed, and I actually also followed up on what I said I was going to do on our last week's Tokwa session, which was I emailed Amber J. Oh goodness, the member
Sanderson.
for Environment, Climate Change, Commerce.
Yep, Sanderson.
That's it. Yeah, and said, look, Tesla, as we discussed before, so Tesla have set a precedent before by allowing compatible EVs from other manufacturers to charge through the CCS standard in Europe. So how about just giving Tesla the money and saying, right, you have to make all cars in Western Australia, all superchargers compatible and allow them all to be charged from the Tesla supercharger network. They build the chargers, they build the batteries, they build, you know, they get the solar panels.
Yep.
You know, and they can do it for cost, I think, as you said, and they have the willpower. So I haven't had a reply yet, but yeah, fingers crossed. So.
Yeah, frustratingly, Tesla is so well placed to just do this and do it economically, whereby they could stretch the supercharger network much further than they ever would, because, and they'd also get the state government to effectively subsidise it. But it's a mutual benefit because.
But it's Tesla. Yeah, sorry, I think exactly what you were going to say.
Yeah. It just makes so much sense. And we know that the superchargers are compatible because, as we said before, in Germany, they had a mess up in the system whereby any EV on CCS got free charging from superchargers, whereas the Teslas ironically had to pay. But so we know it works. And there have been more and more ructions or rumors that is coming to pass. So there was that, it was a company call, private call that was made, and there was discussions about an adapter and an app for non-Teslas. Now, obviously in the States, that's because they have a strange charging inlet. But in Australia, obviously we have CCS or CCS2. So it's completely compatible.
So, yeah, I mean, my only suggestion would be contact your local Labour member, because they almost certainly will be Labour, And yeah, and contact Amber Jane Sanderson, and I don't know, try and get the idea out there if you all think it's a good one.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, couldn't agree
Yeah.
more.
I think that sounds like an excellent idea.
And who's the guy that's actually the ICT member now? Because it was Dave, but oh geez, I can't remember his name now.
So what's ICT?
Oh, sorry, the technology and innovation.
Oh, not Dave Kelly. No.
No, it was Dave Kelly. It was
Oh.
another guy now.
Yeah, sorry, I don't know.
It will come to me. But I mean, look, it's easy enough to look him up and see who's put, what portfolio it comes up on now.
Yes, actually, there was a great website. It's part of the .gov.wa.gov.au website.
I'm pretty sure Mark McGowan shared it on Twitter. In fact, just a screenshot of everyone's responsibility. So.
Right. Yes, and it's definitely on the WA government website.
Yes.
You have to sort of click around a bit, but it shows all the ministerial positions and all the local members and all their contact details.
Yep.
And you're right. Obviously, it's the ministers that you want to get in contact with. And ideally, I mean, if they're your local member, what you can actually do too
perfect, yeah.
is actually arrange a meeting with them, because local members are obliged to make themselves available to their constituents.
That's a good idea, actually. My local's Simone McGurk, and yeah, she hasn't replied to any of my emails, so maybe I might book an appointment.
Contact her office. But like I said, if you've got a relevant minister in your electorate, then you're ideally placed, because you can basically kill two birds with one stone, because you can bring the local issues, which are basically, in our case, it's EVs and similar things. So yeah, great shout out there, Richard. That's a great thing to do. And one thing that no one should doubt is that for every individual that makes an individual communication or contact with a poly, they actually know that there are probably 10 others, if not more, that feel exactly the same way, but just haven't gotten around to doing it. So yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. And I think that's very interesting that you're saying now that they're talking about a 3-year rollout, when definitely I do recall it was absolutely 2 years. In fact, there was an ABC morning program where Dave Kelly's office rang in and said, "Oh no, this thing will be done in 2 years."
Which was 2021 by the time that radio interview happened.
Yep.
So that pushed it back another year.
Yeah. Oh dear. Alrighty. So anyone else got any sort of questions, comments, anything about their cars? Any long road trips, apart from Steve, where you got the really long one, but that's cool. You'll be right on that one.
Harold, can I ask a question about towing?
Yes.
I know that they've only just started, I think, with the Made in China Model 3. They're doing a tow hitch option for it.
Yep.
The Model Y, I think, in the US has a kit as well. I gather that if you do any sort of towing, it seems like the range you get is about a third of that when you're not towing. Is that sort of a pretty good calculation?
It depends what you're towing. So if you're towing just a box trailer, you'll get more than half the range. So more than half. If you're towing a large frontal caravan, I haven't personally tried it, but yeah, I dare say you'd probably get less than half. And then, and of course, it all depends on speed. So I think towing a caravan, your speed limit's to 100 in any case, aren't you? I think. Yeah. But obviously, if you went a bit slower, like say 90, it's going to make a big difference, because you're going to have much less wind resistance. So yeah, so that was a question about towing, wasn't about range, what you're going to lose.
Oh, well, just if anybody in Australia has had any experience towing anything of any size, you can get a lot of US information, but it's really confusing converting miles over all the time. And I mean, they laugh at us with our metric system, and you know, some of the channels try to, you know, do both, of course. I was watching something today from, is it Kim Java? She used to be like
Yes.
Tesla, and she said that they had a couple of bikes on a bike rack, and that affected them by 15 or 20%.
Yes, because it was that a Model X, or was that a
That was their X. Yeah.
yes, yeah, because it basically disrupts the airflow coming off.
Mhm.
So you obviously, you know, for aerodynamics, you want to have a clean brake on the boot. I forget how it goes, but you either want like a very long, elongated sort of spike, you know, going 3 meters behind your car, or you just basically just truncate it cleanly, and that's sort of almost as good. But if you
Yeah.
have bikes, then you're completely disrupting it, and you're just dragging along all this turbulence.
So I've got well, I guess where I'm going, I've got a very tiny caravan. It weighs curbside 850 kilograms.
Yep.
Obviously, it's got windage on it. I tow it at the moment with a Hyundai iX35,
Yep.
Which has got a 2-litre engine. And basically, it increases my fuel consumption by about 70%.
Right.
So,
You're only allowed to tow 750 kilos with the Model 3. That's all it's rated for in this country. I think that's right.
No, actually,
Or is it?
I think it's 1,000 if it's braked.
if it's like,
So-
yeah.
I'll just bring this is a great
That's right.
website which I'll
It
share.
could be 1,000 braked, yes.
Yeah, so this is the certification unit, which is part of infrastructure.gov.au. So what you can do is you can search for Tesla, and then it brings up the different models. So if we look at the Model 3, and of course the Model Y will be basically almost the same, and they've actually just updated the Model 3. So you can see that you've basically got maximum towing mass with a brake trailer of 1,000 kilos, and non-braked is 750. That's for Model 3.
Yeah, I knew 750 came in there somewhere.
Yes, yeah. So
I've looked up the Canada specs, and they are able to tow, I think it's 1,800 kilograms braked with the Model Y.
and what about the Model 3 by comparison? Is that
I
still
think the
1,000?
3 was like 11 or 1,200. So it seems like it's a little bit higher than what's likely to happen here.
But perhaps there's a glimmer of hope that the Model Y might be greater than the Model 3 here, because here it's 1,000 braked.
Yes.
So perhaps it means 1,500. I don't know if they derate in Australia slightly.
Yeah, 1,500, I mean, that would do us fine. As I said, our curbside weight is 850 kilograms. We don't carry any water. We've traveled pretty light. We probably still add 300 kilograms with clothes and food and,
Yep.
you know, gas bottle and that sort of thing.
Yep. Well, I think you'll be in the ballpark. Now, the thing is, if you're caravanning as a holiday, whereby you're sort of hopping from town to town to town, then really it's not going to have a big impact on what you're doing, because you may only really go, you know, maybe a couple of 100 Ks per leg maximum, in which case, you know, you just fully charge the car and you'll get to your next place anyway, and then you can charge overnight, or depending on how long you stay. And the same would also apply if you say wanted to even caravan right around Australia. You know, most, well, you know, you can even go from any caravan park to any other caravan park and just charge on the 15 amps if you're there for you know, a couple of days.
Right. Hey, listen, I got another bit of information I want to pass on to you. This happened quite by accident, but if you got a second?
Yes, of course.
Okay, so before COVID, a couple of months before COVID hit last year, we had ordered, I was keen to get something with a battery in it. So I ordered a Toyota Corolla hybrid and we took delivery of it in May last year. Great car, and I love how the electrics work in it. But, you know, obviously I'm looking forward to get a full battery electric vehicle. But one of the things is we got the middle model. It had a terrible sound system. The sound system was awful. And everything else about the car was great. So in order to make it sound a bit better, I didn't want to spend a lot of money on speakers. I bought this stuff called Sound Mat. It's like a butyl rubber thing, maybe about 2 millimeters thick, and it's lined on one side with aluminium foil, and it's self-adhesive. So I thought what I'm going to do is improve the acoustic characteristics of the doors, hoping that that would improve the sound. So I pulled the door panel, bought this stuff, about 2 square meters of it was all I needed. Bought this stuff, I made patterns up so that I could cut it exactly the size and stick it inside the door. Now, it actually did improve the sound a lot. But the other thing that I wasn't prepared for, it made the car quieter. So it was a lot of effort, it was a lot of work, but I know that people often, you know, when you get these quiet cars, the battery electric cars, that, you know, people start all of a sudden hearing wind noise. A friend of ours got a Model 3 and he says he's trying to cut down the wind noise. Well, I mean, he got the model just before they introduced the double pane glass.
Yep.
But if anybody is interested and wants to see what I've done, I'm quite happy to show them. I mean, I know it is a Corolla. You'll have to bear with that. But I've got a few samples of the material left over, bits that I cut off. But as I said, I set out to improve the quality of the sound, which it did, but it made the vehicle quieter. Now, I didn't do any measurements, but it did have an effect.
For those familiar with Bjorn Nyland, he's done a few tests because, yeah, admittedly, all of the model variations are noisy with road noise. Because there's no internal combustion engine, you can hear a lot of the external noise to the car. So it's not just the rolling noise of the tires, but other cars, in fact. And obviously, if you've got your phone on speaker in the car, people can hear your conversation outside of the car. Now, Bjorn has actually gone to one of the places in Norway to get that sound deadening fitted to his car. And he has got a sound pressure meter, and I think his results are fairly subjective. He was, I think, to be fair, he was a bit disappointed that he didn't get the noise reduction he was hoping for. And I think the same applies to the laminated glass on the driver's side. It's a bit subjective as to how effective it actually is. And I think there was some reason why they're not doing it in the back, and that was to do with it being easy to break the glass in an emergency. That was one of the theories, that they haven't applied it to the back windows. I don't know if that's right or not. And whether that laminated driver's side and passenger front glass, if its purpose is just sound deadening or perhaps structural stiffening, yeah, it's sort of hard to tell really, but yeah, it can definitely, that deadening material can have an effect. Obviously, you gain a bit of weight, but you know, one good thing about EVs is weight is less important to range than things like wind resistance, because obviously in an ICE car, the more weight you add, you just lose. What you do is you have to overcome that momentum to get up to speed. But then when you slow down, you're just pumping that extra momentum into the heat of the brakes. Whereas in an EV, you're recovering a lot of it in regen. So heavy EVs are nowhere near as bad as heavy ICE cars. But yeah, unfortunately, one Achilles heel of many EVs is because there's no engine noise, you do hear a bit of extra external noise and wind noise and tire noise, especially on our really chippy roads, you know, up north in particular. And that's something else when you're on a road trip. You know, you can get spectacular economy on things like the smooth freeway, but once you go, say, on the Southwest Highway, where you get into the chip seal, or you go up north on Great Northern Highway, that sort of starts eating into a bit of your efficiency, because you can hear the tire noise wasting all this energy. But yeah, that's quite interesting, Max. That'd be yeah, you know, anyone's interested in doing that, yeah, definitely make contact. And
I'm on the Tesla owners Facebook page, so I can probably be contacted through there. Just for your interest, the 2 square meters was about $70, including shipping. So it wasn't that expensive. It did, I spent probably 12 hours though doing the 4 doors. Yeah.
I think one thing to note, to be careful with on, I know in Teslas in particular, is when you take the door liners out, you've got to make sure that you reseal them really well, because apparently the way they do the side intrusion airbags, the way they trigger them, is actually an air pressure change in that cavity. So you've got to be meticulous to put back any of those little aluminium sticky labels or covers over some of the holes behind the liners, because if you don't, then it may interfere with it detecting a side intrusion, and it might not set off the airbags correctly or at all. So that's just one little point to watch out for. And I don't know if that actually follows for most modern cars, but in Tesla, that was something that was specifically mentioned by one of the service guys, was you've got to make sure you put back all of those stickers to make sure that that cavity is sealed for intrusion detection. Incidentally, how much did that those 2 square meters weigh?
I think the whole package, when I got it, was about 10 kilograms, but I only used probably 8 altogether.
Cool, cool.
Mm.
Yeah, excellent. Now that'd be quite interesting to see. Well, obviously made a difference in your Corolla, and yeah, it, like I said, Bjorn did it. He mainly did it in the wheel arches. I don't know that he did the door skins or underneath the door. I think he was mainly looking for tire noise, which was mainly the wheel arches.
Yeah, what I need is somebody like, there's a local guy called Reno something or other. I think he tries and does a lot of tests. He would be interesting to get together and do something like that.
Yes, and especially if you can do the before and after comparison, which can be tricky because you need to get the same road conditions, but certainly it'll be worthwhile doing that, because if there is a manifest difference, then it's obviously worth doing. Because like I said, in fairness, our cars are a little bit noisy because of the lack of otherwise background ICE, you know, engine noise and rumble. So there you go. So has anyone else got any bits of news or anything?
I was just wondering about the auto parking feature. Does that actually work in Australia?
Yes, but you do need to have FSD installed on your car.
Mm-hmm.
So it'll do, look, I haven't used it much for perpendicular parking. I haven't found it to be fantastic at that, but parallel parking, it is an absolute star. The only thing it doesn't do as well is it seems to it wants to be a certain distance from the car in front. And what that sometimes means is you end up sort of at the front part of your bay. So then when it's finished, all you do is just stick it in reverse and center the car in the actual bay. But the actual maneuvering is perfect. Although probably not as good as Nigel's, because I believe Nigel is quite legendary at parallel parking.
Yeah, when I tried it, as I said last week, the parking, and yeah, I was not impressed with it, and I haven't had chance to try the parallel parking yet. There aren't too many parallel parking spots wherever I go, so I haven't got round to trying that yet.
But yes, so Mike, it is definitely good. Do you have FSD by any chance?
I do. And like the whole navigate on autopilot thing sort of works, but not really. It seems to freak out whenever it gets to a hard corner, hard right or left corner, or traffic lights. But I'm like, okay, whatever. But the parallel parking, I was kind of, and right angle parking, I was kind of excited about using, but I just haven't been able to figure out how to get it to ever engage. Doesn't seem to. I was expecting to see the little P sign pop up on the screen, and I just have never been able to actually get that. And am I just using the wrong parking bays, wrong spaces? Do I have to have, you know, hard parking lines or something on the edge of the bays? Like driving down Subiaco, driving down the main street in Subiaco, it just wouldn't show parallel park sign or anything like that. And then going into, say, parking bays in Karrinyup, it wouldn't do that either. And I was like, well, you know, the bays are clearly marked and it's all laid out. And both of those scenarios, I would have expected it to immediately work. And I'm just wondering what my problem is.
I haven't seen many perpendicular parking bays come up, but where I am near Waterford Shops, and that's actually on brick paving, so it's not asphalt, it's just brick paving. Although the bays are marked, yeah, it comes up quite often, but not always. And what it usually does is you just sort of drive slowly and you go past, like if it's a parallel parking bay, you obviously drive just past it. And then when you go into reverse, you'll then see the P come up, and then you just press the blue. Well, sorry, in the Model X, it's a blue button that says start. But you've got to have had your foot on the brake when you press that button. But you're right, it can be a little bit finicky.
It also requires other cars around you. You can't, if there's 10 empty bays, you can't just park it into one of them. It will want to park it between two other cars. So you've got to consider that as well.
I actually had a bit of a try today with perpendicular parking in the hospital car park, because I never really got the hang of it. And perpendicular didn't seem to ever show up. But today I tried it, and backing into a bay, I think you then stop and it'll show up the P. So you just push the P and then it'll work its way in. And I was in a sort of so I did that once. That seemed to work fine. You know, shut at the P and just pushed it to go, and had it in reverse and everything. It all went. But you sort of have to park it. I found I had to park it back into the bay a little bit, and then it'll take over nicely. And I tried it the second time, and I really didn't line it up very well, and it's all quite narrow. Anyway, it sort of had to do three passes to sort of start to get it in. Now, I gather it'll do up to 7 to actually squeeze into a parking bay. And this one did 3, and it was sort of doing it okay, because I got earlier on, I sort of got a bit nervous and I got a bit close to a car, and I sort of stopped it. This is previously, but this time I sort of watched it carefully, and it was okay. And then some a pedestrian walked in front of the car, and I had to bail out. I mean, it was probably okay. It would have stopped for her, but you know, it's nice to sort of not sort of kill too many people in the car park. in the hospital. But anyway, it's sort of apart from that, and then she sort of looked at me funny, and because I was probably looking at her funny and slightly annoyed, really. She my parking maneuver. But anyway, that's for perpendicular parking. Because I never really got how it sort of started. How you meant to start. I know there's a certain speed limit to actually for it to pick up. I mean, you got 16 kilometers an hour or something like that. So, or for parallel on 8 for perpendicular or something like that. So,
you're right, Peter. I've had it quite a few times where I've basically started a perpendicular park, reverse park into a bay, perpendicular, and halfway through it'll then offer to do the rest for me. But interestingly, for me at least, it often will show the bay at a bit of an oblique angle, which I know it's not because I'm coming in straight. So I sort of haven't, to be honest, let it do it just in case. But parallel, it does really, really well.
I think perpendicular might be the car. I mean, it might be the car that's straight, and it's just the bay is just shown in relationship to the car. I can't confirm that, but it's that's my impression. Because
you mean the cars next to you, like if they're on an angle.
Your car is always straight.
Yep.
And the bay is sort of
Oh yeah, that's right. Yes, that's right. Yeah, exactly.
So it's actually not trying to park in the bay; it's trying to park between cars.
It will. It'll move to exactly between the two cars, because if one car's over the white line, it'll still sort of go in halfway between, equal margin on either side, regardless of where the other two cars are in the bay.
Now, Mike, you were saying before that Navigate and Autopilot's a bit flaky.
Yeah.
One trick to do is to have automatic lane changes as confirm, so it won't actually automatically change lanes without confirmation. Because one thing that Navigate and Autopilot does do sometimes is get itself in the incorrect lane. So,
yes, find that a lot. The Karrinyup Road exit, it seems to like to get in the right-hand lane right before the exit, and so
then it's got nowhere to go.
If you're not careful, you have to charge across 4 lanes of traffic to try and.
Yep. And I've got a classic. When I go west onto Manning Road, it basically either ends up, the right lane of it ends up as the northbound freeway on-ramp, and the left lane goes basically up towards Canning Highway. And I've navigated to say, somewhere north of the river, and it's actually told me it's suggested, or it wants to get into the left lane on Manning Road. And it's like, no, you don't want to do that, because you can't get on the freeway in that position. So it's got this like a mapping error, which if you let it do it, it would then work out once you've gone too far that it's not right. So Navigate and Autopilot isn't perfect, but I must admit, when it works properly, it's just like magic. When it comes off and off ramp, say the freeway, or it'll also work on Roe Highway and parts of Leach Highway and Tonkin Highway. When it works perfectly, it is nothing short of magic. It's just fantastic. But sadly, it doesn't always work perfectly.
Yeah, it's still not there yet.
No. That's if there's anyone that hasn't purchased full self-driving, I suggest that Navigate and Autopilot isn't really the killer app, for that $10,000. For the 10K, I think one of the better features are so you're also mentioning, Mike, that the traffic light, it freaks out at traffic lights.
Yeah. So, if we're going straight through a traffic light, that's fine. But if I want to turn left or right, it will completely just freak out and just throw its hands up and say no.
Well, it can't turn left or right.
Yeah.
Navigate on Autopilot as it is. No, they say it cannot do left and right turns. It will not go around roundabouts. You've got to take over control.
Yeah.
But I have noticed at some traffic lights, the car in front of me pulls off and it pulls up and still got a red line there, despite green lights, and that's on a few sets of traffic lights, not all of them.
Yes.
The interesting thing I found is that going, I don't know the street, but you're off the freeway near IKEA, and you go all the way down to the T-junction at the end. I don't know if you know the area at all, and you turn left and go down towards Bunnings. That corner, FSD will actually it will actually turn the corner, but it will completely misjudge the angle it needs to take, and it will end up attempting to drive into oncoming traffic. So obviously you need to stop it. I just enjoy trying to push FSD and see what situations I can actually get it to actually work in. And yeah.
Yeah, and I must admit, I do that daily. So I will give my car much more than enough rope to attempt to do things. And like, it has actually taken right turns, like for instance, Leach Highway going, well, I guess technically west, because it sort of goes south for a bit, then it sort of turns a bit westish. I've turned into Manning Road in the right-hand lane, the turning lane, and just let the car follow the car in front. And many times it does it perfectly well. And it's quite awesome when it does that. But other times it'll freak out. One thing to be aware of is if you say on a road that's got 2 lanes either way, and you go through an intersection, and that intersection has those dotted curved guidelines for the cars going the other way, turning onto your road, be super duper careful, because it'll sometimes interpret that dotted line as the right side of your lane veering left. So I've actually seen my car effectively change lanes at a 45-degree angle with no warning. It did it fairly slowly, but it did it nonetheless.
Mine did that at 80 kilometers an hour and nearly went under a truck. Fortunately, I was paying attention.
So yeah, I do mostly enjoy watching and studying what the car can and can't do.
With the automatic cruise control, when you I think when you brake or disengage it and then attempt to re-engage it again, and I've like turned all the different options on, so maybe I've just turned an option that I shouldn't have turned on, but it will attempt to re-engage at the maximum speed for the road, and so it will suddenly accelerate at a great rate, which is capable of doing, but quite often there's like a car right in front of you, or it's just not well. I feel really uncomfortable with what it's doing, and it doesn't seem to be like, I'll change the speed down, maybe it's like 100 kilometers an hour, and it's quite a twisty turny road, and I'll try pull the speed down to like 80 or 70 or something, and then I'll disengage, and then I'll re-engage, and I'll reassume the full maximum speed on the road rather than the previous speed that I was going. Is there any way to change that? Anyone aware of?
No, I don't think there is. It just will, when you reset it, if you look at the screen, when you disengage, the right-hand dial will go from whatever you had it set at to the maximum speed plus your offset. And that's what it will then set it at. So I don't think there is a way that I know of.
I thought there was a setting that changed the TAC speed setting, because I thought there was one thing where it would just set it to the previously set speed, or the other setting was it would set it to the current speed limit.
Yeah, Harold, I'm fairly sure that you have a choice of the indicated, the gazetted speed, or the set speed. You choose the speed. Is that what we're talking about?
Yes, yes.
Yeah,
Now,
so
the set
if you
speed-
choose,
Yeah.
if you set it up in your interface as you want the gazetted speed, yes, it will always try and do the gazetted speed. But if you choose the I'm setting the speed, you follow me option, then that's what you get, I think.
So, and I think that the set speed is the previously set speed. So if you just came off the freeway and you were doing 100 k's an hour, you disengaged TAC, and you then later re-engaged it, it might then go back to 100 k's an hour incorrectly. Well, incorrectly because it was doing what you
If
told
you've
it.
turned on to an 80k road and you're trying to do 100, then it's obviously not the gazetted speed, so you have
Yep.
an issue.
There is also, you can tap the current speed on the screen and it will set to that speed.
Ah,
Well, there is in mine.
cool.
So
Yes, Model
you-
3s. Yep, yep.
Yeah, you can tap the current speed and it can set it to that. But you can do that on the screen.
Is that a way that you can actually engage TAC, or you still have to engage TAC on the stalk? You do a half, that half detent or whatever.
I think you've got to have it engaged and then you can tap the speed.
But yeah, I sort of agree, Mike, that it can be a bit flaky, and especially if you use Navigate and Autopilot. Another example is I get off the freeway on Manning Road, just so happens, and the speed limit is 60, but when you go on TAC, it'll suddenly roar up to 100, which can be a pain because then and like you say, the cars accelerate quite quickly and smoothly, and you're not always aware of what it's doing. It obviously won't go through the car in front of you, like it obviously is aware of the cars, so it's not going to ram up the back of a car, but you can find yourself sort of speeding inadvertently quite quickly. But yeah, that's one of those idiosyncrasies. But yeah, definitely, as Steve said, have a look at the setting under, I think it's under Autopilot and under the
Yeah.
speed setting section.
I'll have a look at it. I don't think it's, that's going to be interesting. I'll have a look at it, but I don't think that's actually going to do what I want. Yeah.
It's worth a play.
I think it's going to require a tweet to Elon to fix.
Yeah, I can't remember. I'm just trying to think whether if you physically manually, so if you set it to the speed, so let's say you're at let's say 80, and then you engage to 110. If you physically put your feet on the accelerator, it will slow the car down, so you can accelerate yourself close to the 100, and then let it pick up the speed right to the end. So I believe if you manually hold your feet down on the accelerator pedal, it won't accelerate quickly. So just push it down and then slowly accelerate up to the 110 yourself. I think that gets around that quick speed up.
Ah, I will have to try that.
Now on TAC, to slow down, you don't put the gear lever upwards, do you? You can't notch it. You use your thumb wheel to reduce speed.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, that's right.
Or it's supposed to pick up the change in speed, but sometimes it doesn't.
Yes.
Like,
yeah.
Sometimes the speed. I'm thinking about the bit on the freeway, going through the city, coming north, and then it goes from 80 up to 100.
Yes.
It often just stays at 80, doesn't pick up to 100.
Yeah. Actually, that's entirely normal behavior. It's frustrating because what you'll find is when you go to country towns and say the speed limit's 110, when you go approach the town and the speed limit changes to 80 and then to 60, the car will slow down at those different speed points. You go through town at the correct speed limit, and then when you get out the other end, it will then resume speed back up to the posted speed limit, which is awesome. But by some policy, the cars don't do it in Perth. So if you're in the outback, it'll do it. So it does it all day, every day, and it's even intelligent enough that say if the speed limit is 110, but you're only doing 100, it'll slow down to the 50, 60 Ks going through the town. And then when it goes out the other end, it'll resume at 100, even though the speed limit's 110.
Yeah.
Because that's the speed you had beforehand.
And I
That
can see
works.
that it's recognised the speed limit change, but the max speed is still
Yep.
20 k's below.
Yes, yep. And unfortunately, I don't know why Tesla do this, but in Perth, and I think in most built up cities or major cities, it just refuses to do it. But you go down south in certain places or up north, and it works
Fine.
perfectly all day, every day, which is a bit frustrating because there's no reason why it shouldn't do it here. Something else you might have found is the cars now will optically recognize speed signs. So originally their speed settings were based on maps, on mapping, but they do recognize speed signs. So sometimes they'll pick up construction zone speed signs, but they won't obviously pick up that you've left that construction area. And then what can be frustrating is when you're on autopilot, you can't set the speed faster than the 40 k's an hour that you just went past. So you have to wait, and you have to either disengage autopilot and just use TAC, because on TAC you can sort of set any speed you want. You can override it to as fast as you like. But if you stay on autopilot, you have to wait until you get to another GPS mapping point, which is usually the next intersection, or if there's a speed sign sort of further along. Even if it doesn't see it, there'll be a GPS coordinate that indicates that's the sort of what it thinks is the new speed, because it presumes the last speed limit it saw persists until there's a new
Yeah.
data point. And that can be a bit frustrating sometimes. But it's just unfortunately one of those things. It's pretty clever when it optically sees signs, but if it doesn't see the end of limit sign, then you're kind of stuck.
Yeah, and I've got a speed sign that's in a bush on one of the back streets. It's supposed to be 80, but as I go past, it says it's 30, and it slams on the anchors.
Oh, no.
And I'm going, it's 80 here, stop it. And it won't go up until it sees the next 80 sign.
Right, so you need some hedge clippers or something, and you need to clip off. You need to clean up that sign there, Nigel.
I think it doesn't recognise that, you know, the unrestricted speed limit sign as well, because we just went to Mike's dad's farm for the weekend, and the street they live on, it starts off at 80 or something and then gets an unrestricted sign, and it took it down to 50. I was like, no.
Yes, and actually there's another warning too, is when you navigate to somewhere, it will try and get you to that destination in the shortest possible time. Now, because you're right, it doesn't know what an unrestricted symbol is. And I think on some of the maps, it incorrectly, I know definitely down south on some roads, it incorrectly thinks that road is a 50 limit and not a 110 limit.
Yeah.
So what it can do then is it can perversely tell you to go a much longer way because it thinks it's going to save time, because it's going to take you on what it thinks are faster roads than the most direct route, because it doesn't know the correct speed limit, and that can be a real pain. So
I actually saw, I was driving in Mandurah, now in the city centre, it's a 40 limit. And as you're coming up to a roundabout, it's got end 40, and it's black and white, and the circle and the 40 are black and white. And I looked at the car screen, and it got the black and white circle with a diagonal line through it. And I'm going, what the? That's actually saying, recognizing end 40. Now, I didn't have cruise control on because it's just right at a roundabout. So I turned it off, and obviously around the roundabout, it's got a 50 sign, which it recognized. But I thought, that I've not seen before. It had got a black circle with a diagonal line through it.
Right, interesting. Where's that, Nigel? I mean, in Mandurah, obviously.
Right by the council offices in Mandurah, on Mandurah Terrace.
Yes, near the charger, near the fast.
Yeah, not far from there. As you're heading north, there's a roundabout at the Atrium Hotel, and it's got end 40. And I actually had the black circle with the diagonal line through it, and I'm going, whoa, hello.
Yeah, cool, nice. It would have been more interesting if it thought that was a de-restriction sign and it zoomed up to 110.
Yeah.
But,
Well, I
Yeah.
don't know if it recognised it as the end of the restriction and would have changed speed. But I just thought that was interesting because it was not the sign; it was a 40 sign with end above it in black and white.
Yep. Something you might not be aware of that the car can usually do is when you go through a school zone, you'll actually notice that you'll see 2 speed limits and there'll be like a symbol of a clock, like an analog clock. So it's actually indicating that it's a time difference or time differential speed limit, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, and it will slow down to the 40. The only trouble is it's usually doing it too late and the cops already have got you.
Yes, because it does it as you
After.
pass the 40. And of course, you have to have already been at 40 when you cross the 40. Yeah, that is a bit of a problem.
Does anyone know if it recognises kangaroos?
No, I don't know. It probably does. The last time I interacted with a kangaroo was in 2018, and that was with different full self-driving or different hardware in the computer and much older software. There was a video taken a couple of years ago where it did the forward collision warning alarm for a kangaroo hopping across. But I dare say it probably would. Or, I mean, it might misinterpret it as a pedestrian, but it would definitely see.
I had an altercation with a cat a few days ago, and it did not see the cat at all, or I think it just chose to ignore it, probably.
Did it swerve
Well, it was
several times? Did it
run it
swerve
down.
several times before it hit the cat, or did it?
Something
That's
like
about
that.
what
It was
cats
like, yeah,
deserve.
I think it actively tried to hit the cat, aimed for it.
Was it our
you-
cat?
You were actually in dog mode. You realise?
Right, yeah, that's it.
Yes, I did notice there is a dog mode. There's no cat mode. That's interesting. Actually, that is actually an awesome segue into something that is obliquely relevant to what we just said. Because I don't know if you saw that for the Model 3s and the upcoming S's and X's, there's actually an interior camera. And thanks to Green the Only, you can actually see what it sees, which this is a nighttime shot of the internal camera. And that's the daytime shot, which actually in this case, he's got a dog sitting on the center console. But that was just a bit of a segue for animals. But this is this is just out of interest, what you can actually see, what the internal camera sees. So it can clearly see if you're looking at the road. This is obviously a left-hand drive version. But at night time, it's a lot darker. But yes, so this guy obviously enjoys having his dog with him in the car. But anyway, that's just a bit of an oblique segue because of the mention of dogs. But yeah, I dare say maybe a cat might be too small for it to be interesting. Was it daytime or nighttime, Mike?
I was not.
Oh, okay. Well, that might also make it less. See, the thing is,
Nighttime, and it was a black cat.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't. It was actually a well lit street. I was driving down, and it was a sort of a tabby coloured cat, so it was reasonably bright. I mean, it had seen people in a similar scenario, and it didn't have a problem with, but just the cat, it completely, did not register at all.
well, there's two different sensing modes. There's optical and radar. Now, I think a cat would probably not have a very big radar signature, so it wouldn't have worked on a radar sense probably. And even optically, it's a small object low down, so it obviously clearly ignored it. I mean, you can certainly see it working with pedestrians. And there's I don't know if you've seen the NHTSA, I think it's NHTSA videos of the active safety features where they have like a mannequin, and there's one where they pull it on like a skateboard where there's like a kid that pretends to walk, and it basically, there's a car, the Model 3 is coming along, I think it's doing 30 k's an hour or 40 k's an hour, and then basically there are cars along the side, and this kid gets pulled, well, this mannequin gets pulled out of nowhere in front of the car, and it just comes to a stop at the very last moment. Like, it's frightening when you see it. So they've definitely set it up for pedestrians of all sizes, but yeah, I guess perhaps a cat might be too small for it to have noticed.
Or
But-
cared.
Well, yeah, it's probably more to do with notice. Yeah,
I would expect with the deep learning algorithms that it probably would have eventually twig. So yeah, but I just find it interesting that all the things it does pick up, and it picks up traffic cones, no problem.
yes.
So
And it can be entertaining because I don't know what they call it. Is it the shredder cable where you have it's like that rope type Armco where it's got a whole lot of uprights, and it's just
all right, yeah.
three strands or three ropes basically pulled taut to keep you in the freeway or highway or whatever. And sometimes it misinterprets all those uprights as witches' hats, which is highly entertaining because you just see, cone, and then other times it's sort of, it decides it's not a cone and it's something else, and it's
It's usually only those uprights that have got a red little reflector on the very top.
And speaking of red things, some things that when you've got full self-driving and you've got the traffic lights aware stopping feature, can be painful on, say, the freeway is if there's a red light for the train and it's a single red light, the car will actually draw a red line on the freeway and actually try and stop for it, which can be a bit of a pain. Obviously, you can just drive through that by putting your foot on the accelerator. But yeah, that can be a bit of a pain.
Very upsetting for the people behind you.
Yes, what do they call it? It's brake checking, just checking their brakes.
I was just about to say that I was just about to raise that thing that started out the freeway recently, and it's in the right-hand lane. You get all the stoplights for the trains, and there's you certainly find out how many there are because your car doesn't slow down each one. So and that's the first thing. Second thing is there's videos around where the car does a avoidance turn around a deer. Deer runs out in the road and it it swerves around it all automatically. So it does avoid some things. I've sometimes wondered whether you've got a large magpie in the middle of the road, or crow in the middle of the road, which is pretty sort of obvious and dark and high contrast. And I don't think it's actually recognized. I was certainly looking out to see if it recognized it, but I don't think it did. But just the third question is, how much are with the Model 3, how much are the trailer hitches installation cost?
Richard, did you put a tow bar on yours?
Yeah, nothing if you do it yourself. Takes about 2 hours. It's not a big job.
I've got some duct tape. Yeah, okay.
You only need the duct tape if you stuff it up.
Yeah, okay. I need to speak to them.
There's lots of YouTubes online how to do it. It's quite simple.
Yeah, okay.
Richard, did your Model 3 have a access port?
Yes,
for your tow bar? Because I got down underneath mine, and I've got a 2021 Model 3, and there's no access port anymore on that. It's gone.
Wow. Because mine was in the middle, because the early ones didn't have them, and mine 2019, late 2019 did have one. Yeah. So you just cut one.
guess so.
So, yeah, it's not a big job to fit them. Yeah.
Right.
You just take your rear bumper off and undo 6 bolts, put it on, put the 6 bolts back on, and you're away. Put the bumper back on. So, I mean, sort of. Yeah, there's lots of YouTubes how to do it. It's very simple.
Does the bumper just pull, has it got like those latches where you just pull it, you basically pull it off at right angles to the bumper?
Yeah, some of them, but it's got some torque. It's got 2 little torques at the front, and then it's got lots of pop, about 6 pop where you pop them out, and then you drop your lower, the under tray bit, and then you basically just pull it off, as you say. Just
And,
pull it off.
and the under tray ones, I presume they're those half split ones where you pull off the center bit and that allows
Yeah, then it drops out.
Yeah.
So, question for Richard: did you put an electric brake controller on there?
I have done, not electric brake control, and I was only going to use it to put my bike rack on the back, but I decided if I wanted to do a trailer, I got the electricals for that, and I got a system that you don't have to cut any wires. It's just got CT clamps on the various cables. You just clamp over the cables, and then I tried it on a friend's trailer who's got, and it didn't work because he's got LED lights on it. It doesn't draw enough current to say it's there. So then the kit I got only has, when you put your brakes on, when you put your indicators and the brake lights are the same, but I've just upgraded to a thing that gives you more. It gives you brake lights and indicators. And so it's just another extra fitting. You just plug it in. So it turns a 4-wire into a 5-wire. So, but I haven't used it yet because I haven't found a compatible trailer. It's just if I go to Bunnings and want to get some mulch or something, I can use that trailer. So.
Okay. Yeah, I think that. The other thing was I had a couple of people come up passing through over Easter, very interested in seeing my stuff that obviously seen my website and so on, the stuff I got behind me, and they're very contestant. The lady, the mother, she'd been to Belgrade and saw all the stuff in Belgrade for Tesla.
That would be Nikola Tesla's stuff.
Yes, the Smiljan or whatever it's his place where he was used to live. Anyway, that was it. So they were pretty keen, and I was sort of really enthusiastic about. So I showed them, a lot of stuff. It's the first time I've really been in my shed for a long time, probably, to actually sort of pull out some stuff and pull out the Wimhurst and the Van de Graaff and the small Tesla and a lot of my little display things and so on. I thought, oh gosh, got to get all the stuff organised by November so I can have a sort of an open day for the Tesla group and up to 20 people, I guess. To sort of do it. You got the Eaton supercharger for those who've never used it, been down this way, and so anyway, that was a bit sort of slightly positive in terms of me actually getting so for various displays and things like that. So maybe November is probably late November is probably the best times, early enough before Christmas, and the weather's should be hopefully okay by then because we're weather dependent. And so I won't have necessarily the whole lot of my stuff, but whatever I can sort of manage and so on. So it takes quite a bit. You've got to get sort of tables and sort of higher tables and chairs and if you've got 40, 50, 60 people so on, but not quite anticipating that many, but so that's the vague plan. So
yeah, cool. We'll definitely we'll be there. Absolutely. And it's an interesting night. I pulled out my 1-watt laser last night too, and that's it's one of the wow exhibitions I've got. It's most interesting. Well, I can't say it's the most interesting laser, but it's just a very different sort of laser pattern that just envelops everything. All of a sudden, everything's black, and just the green dots, which you can then, this constellation of green dots merges and it just intersects and so on as you adjust your 1-watt green laser, which is incredibly bright. So it lets you pop balloons too. So but you've got to do it with a very good mount and so on, so there's no chance of it swinging around or sort of chopping anyone's head off or whatever. So yeah. Exactly. For those on YouTube, there's a YouTube channel called something like Styro Pyro. He's actually a young bloke that does amazing things, scary things with lasers, absolutely diabolical. A few times he's been demonetized by YouTube because he's had some crazy videos, but yeah, Styro Pyro, yeah, it's just some ridiculous lasers which are stupendously dangerous.
I mean, the carbon dioxide lasers are quite easy to get them at 100 watts infrared, so you can't see the things. They will burn quite well.
Yes.
But you know, you got to sort of water cool them and sort of a really big power supply and things like that. Anyway, but the one I mean, you can't bring them in. So you know, if you try and get one through customs, you'll have questions asked, I think. And you know, you you know, you're sort of responsible for trying to bring that in. So just like narcotics, I guess. But
yeah. Well,
narcotics, they might forget about the laser. So yeah.
Just by way of example, this guy on his channel has, you know, 1 million watt, you know, pulsed lasers. Some of these things are just ridiculous. You know, testing illegal blue lasers from eBay, you know, which are just setting fire to anything. So anyway, that's yeah, Styro Pyro for those that want a bit of entertainment.
It actually says there are 1 million volts. You might have just seen just as you sort of flick the screen off, but you know, a million volts.
No, 1 million watts. No, there was.
I know it said that, but just on the right hand, I spotted it just as you. It doesn't matter. I mean, it's not a.
Oh, sorry. This one here.
Right, yeah, just next to. Oh, yeah. When you turn it on, it said a million volts. They also to say, you know, they say tasers. You know, this taser is 7 million volts, which is, you know, that's sort of a 7 meter spark. You know, it's not a. It's you know.
Yes. Yeah. Exactly.
kV max, I guess. So, but I've got little things like that which you can give yourself shocks. You know, little. Quite safe shocks, you know. It's all sorts of, got lots of little gadgets like that and magnetic stuff and so on. A lot of just displays. Unfortunately, it's only one me to sort of display them, and I got the smoke machine going, which is vortex rings. And last night, and it was just absolutely still. The more still the air is, the more perfectly formed these vortex rings are. And in a school gymnasium where there's no airflow at all, these rings are actually slightly warmer than air, so they will tend to drift very slowly upwards. And if you do it, you alter the speed however hard you want it to go out, and that can be walking pace. And these smoke rings, it can be. You know, because my video guy was just actually standing next to it, walking along with it. As it gradually sort of, and it becomes more and more well defined, you know, any sort of turbulent sort of bit sort of fluffs off, and that smoke's leaving a very sort of well defined thing as it gradually sort of drifts up higher and higher. It's just amazing to watch that. And you know, we've got a color light behind it. What's also fun is I've got a big strobe, a 1500 watt strobe light, and of course, as you all have, I'm sure, in your Teslas and yeah, so you can lift. You can see it. It's this. You can strobe the smoke rings. You know, so you just see a smoke ring here, a smoke ring here. You put it along long exposure, you've got this sequence of smoke rings. That's yeah, well, it appeals to some people. So anyway, all those things are sort of interesting. And what's what you can use. The good thing about it is you can use that unsupervised. I mean, little kids can do it. They're either sort of like shooting it or standing in front of it and getting the hair. You know.
Yeah. Well, the smoke ring just makes it visible, but the actual turbulence propagates regardless. You know,
you can't see it. Yeah, it's sort of and you get sort of, if you've got sort of, you know, frizzy hair, it's sort of very obvious. It's sort of as it blows past you, so it's interesting. But that's a good fun thing, and but it depends on, you know, airflow and so on. It's which is.
I must admit, Nigel and I have probably put our hands on many Van de Graaff generators, and it's like can't feel a thing.
What you need to do if you want to feel something is come up to that Van de Graaff generator and put your hand near it, and then you'll feel it. If you start off with your hand on it, you're safe. But
yes, or if you, yes,
sort of thing. But if you come up with your hand up to a Van de Graaff, course, it'll spark onto you, and you'll be very sorry. So yeah.
You could lose your hair over that one, couldn't you?
No.
I wasn't talking to you.
Harold's done a lot more than me, so yeah. Oh no,
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
So no, it's only a baby one, but I had to. So I pulled it out, and it's been so long since I did. There's a great big wolf spider. You know, it just about sort of, well, it wouldn't cover my palm, but you know, sort of it comes pretty close. And I've got a nice little video of me sort of putting my finger next to it, and it sort of jerks away a little bit, and I touch it again, and I like doing that sort of thing.
Yes.
Anyway, lots of different displays. I've got a display of all sorts of lasers and all running together, and diffraction gratings, and holograms, and line driving things, which is quite interesting. There's a whole. So I've got those big display things which run ultraviolet displays with multiple ultraviolet things, and a nuclear medical, some nuclear objects. From.
Oh, so have you got a what's it called, chamber?
A Geiger counter?
No.
A cloud chamber.
Cloud chamber. Sorry, cloud chamber.
I've never made one of those, but yeah, but there's a whole lot of interesting things. There's you can actually make a spark detector to actually pick up alpha waves, so alpha particles. You have about 5 kV and a lot of little parallel things, and as an alpha particle goes through, it'll spark. You've got to have it all so you don't blow it up.
Oh, so it's high. You have a high voltage too, like yes.
Yeah,
So
and
you establish a voltage across.
As the alpha wave comes, so you can actually move your alpha source, which is from a smoke detector. You move that around, the sparks will follow underneath it. It's quite interesting. So
yeah, cool.
Yeah, we've got a whole lot of things like that. So that stuff is already made up, and that's okay to go. And it's just a matter of resurrecting my one or both of my Tesla coils, and
yeah, well, just resurrect the biggest one. That's the one you need. So
yeah, and that's the one I just pulled apart, and because I had to. That's because I had to park my Tesla there. True. This is where it was parked. It was just where the only place I could really put the outlet. So I had to dismantle it, and yeah, it wasn't. I blew it up the last time we had a show there, and I've never actually worked out what the problem was. But anyway, so yeah, it'll probably. That's the one to resurrect really, but there's also things like blowing up watermelons and stuff like that. That's all good fun on the night. So yeah.
You never grew up, did you, Peter?
Absolutely not. No.
Sounds good.
Anyway, so I have rekindled a slight interest in doing a few things in that regard. So
cool.
Yeah, here we go.
Well, we'll certainly provide an adequate audience for that endeavour.
It's a fun night. You tend not to forget sort of things when like some of these electrical things when I was a kid. Sort of really formative sort of. Just the vision that you sort of have there of something you won't see every day, sort of thing. So yeah.
Yeah, it's a bit like I think I was near 11 and I went to a thing at UWA called Bonds, Bangs and Bedlam, and it was like a chemistry type sort of demonstration. And one of the things was they actually shot a candle in a shotgun into the yellow pages. And this was like when they were, yellow pages were inches thick, and it went through to L because it was one of a single white set of white pages, and just an ordinary candle shot through a shotgun went through to the L section of the yellow pages.
You should. It's a bit in the same line as, well, not quite the same line, but you can actually hammer a nail in with a banana.
Yeah, just liquid nitrogen.
Yeah, liquid nitrogen. That's a good trick. I've got a rail gun, and I've got a gun, and a bit fairly minor sort of things, but they're not running at the moment. But
have you got the can crusher, the aluminium can crusher?
That's also had a lot of things go wrong with it, but it shouldn't be too hard to resurrect. I mean, the capacitors are still there. There's still whole 10. I think peak power, it's like something like a third of a gigawatt or something like that.
Yep.
sort of 10,000 volts, 30,000th of a second. I think that's sort of roughly what it works out to. I was probably not at the same time, but they're it's a dramatic sort of thing. Anyway, that's so I like to sort of get all those together, and but it's all physically quite a bit demanding for me at the moment. And, it's a 300 kilo piece of equipment that I've got to lug around. So, yeah. So anyway, that's we'll try and do what I can for that, and yeah, it's usually a good night. Weather's often a bit of a sort of a, will it rain, will it not?
Well, the thing is, you got like a 7-day forecast. So what we could do is we set up, pencil in a date, and we can sort of effectively do like a save the date sort of thing, and then say, but we won't firm it up until a week before, and by then you'll know pretty much what the weather's going to be like. So that's all right. We can work our way around that.
I think with this sort of forum, previously, when I've had other people, if I wanted to sort of have it in January, I couldn't because of school holidays and no one's around. And but I think with this sort of forum, people are going to be, some people are going to be on the forum here, and then it can be distributed. I think it's easier, and it may well be that January is actually a better time, sort of mid-January or something. People will be on holidays, but nevertheless, it's sort of it might be a better time, and the weather's much more predictably warm and less rain at that stage. So maybe that's a better time. November, late October, still rains a bit, sort of 1 in 4 sort of thing.
But like I said, we've got 7-day forecasts these days, which are pretty accurate. So
there's still a lot of things to organise in advance, like hiring stuff. Can't be done on the day. It's got to be done. Anyway, I'll probably have a little think, but I think probably with the fact you've got the forum here, you've got access to other people that be interested to come.
Yep.
But I mean, from your point of view, is late November, close to the 1st of December type thing better than January, mid-January?
I don't think it makes a big difference. You might get a slightly different audience, but we've got enough members to have the numbers. So
yeah, it's I mean, look, it's worthwhile if there's well, not really mind, so half a dozen doesn't, but up to 20 should be fine. There's no problem there. And what we've normally done before is just have trolley loads of pizzas.
We can organise that. That's easy.
And stuff like that, and that sort of works pretty well. You can have, and then you all sit out on blankets, and I'll sort of run through the nighttime things, which is like the daytime things. A lot of the small stuff, some of the high voltage things. Some of the small stuff, the magnets and the lots of little electronic things, or some of the other displays are fairly. If I've got time, you can get liquid nitrogen and stuff all night.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah,
literally cool.
Kiss my anyway,
excellent. Any other things about cars, idiosyncrasies? I heard that there was talk that Tesla was going to expand their Shanghai factory south of the current location, but apparently that now might be in a bit of doubt, whereby there was a parcel of land that was to be for sale, but Tesla haven't bought it. So that's sort of interesting. And I think the comment that Jason Yang had on his latest channel or video was that they're just going to build more density on the current plot of land, which is sort of interesting. Because I don't know if you guys have seen, but they're just putting more and more buildings on that same plot until there's virtually no land left, which obviously bodes well for Max, who was on before with the Model Y, because you just want more production capacity. But it's sort of interesting, whether Tesla goes for another location somewhere else other than Shanghai for another factory, because they're obviously just going through a whole growth spurt.
I thought they were extending in a separate area, a separate parcel of land, which is already, was actually a muddy field again. I think I had thought they'd already bought that, but you're talking about something that's actually adjacent. I don't think this other one was actually adjacent.
Yeah, no, this one, I'll just flick on to part of the video. This section here is south of the main factory,
Oh,
but
yeah,
they've also, on this side, there was a horticultural, market garden section, and it seems they've sort of taken over half of that because they've got some temporary sort of accommodation once this goes to full screen over here. But this whole plot of land here, because this is actually what part of the river or whatever it is, a gully or a drainage thingy. And there was talk that they would be building another factory here. But apparently that's sort of been knocked on the head notionally, that there was some opportunity to buy this land and Tesla haven't yet done so. So there was sort of talk that maybe it'll be somewhere else. So it says, so as you can see here, news broke last week that the land located south of Tesla's Shanghai factory was out of bidding, meaning that Tesla did not take that land at this stage. However, we saw on site, and it goes on and on. According to this guy, they were building a couple of roads at the behest of Tesla, and yet it seems that Tesla haven't actually bought the land at this stage. But on the other drone footage, it just shows that there's virtually very little land left on that original parcel where they've put the two factories, and they're doing a battery plant. They're doing the the designed in China, possibly Model 2, sort of subcompact version of the car. They've built that building, or they're building it now, towards the front of the factory. And they're actually tearing up a fair bit of the parking area where they were storing cars temporarily, and looks like they're building more buildings on that as well. So, it's just full speed ahead.
I do have one other question, if I can.
Yes, Mike. Yeah, of course.
Does anyone have any experience with the HomeLink?
With what? Sorry.
What?
HomeLink.
HomeLink.
Yeah, I've got HomeLink.
Is it good? Does it work?
It works brilliantly.
Is that sincerely?
No. It's great. I drive out and the door goes down as I'm driving up towards the driveway. The door goes up. It's great.
What happens if you stop in front of the door? Does it stay up?
No, the door will go all the way down till it scrunches on your car if you're parked underneath it. Because my wife did that.
I park in the driveway, like pull up in front of the carport, door goes up. I don't actually go into the carport. Does it just come back down again or something? What?
No, the door will go up and stay up until it gets another signal to go down.
Right, okay.
So
essentially
when you drive in and park, you're driving into your driveway, the door will be going up. You go in and park, then you can either hit the HomeLink on the screen or get out your car and close the door as you normally would by hitting your remote button in the garage. It will just go up and stay up, or go down and stay down.
Brilliant. Too easy.
But you've got to have a compatible garage door controller thingy. I was just lucky that our original one blew up due to lightning, and we got another one installed, and then I got the Tesla, and I go, oh, HomeLink, it's got to have, oh, guess what? I've got that one. So it was great.
Is that the Chamberlain? Was that the Chamberlain actuator, Nigel?
I can't remember.
I think Chamberlain's one of them. You can actually buy a HomeLink receiver that you add or you retrofit to your standard controller. But
Yeah, that's
I-
true. There's an adapter that you can stick onto the automatic garage door.
But I think it needs to have a separate open and close input, which a lot of if it's a roller door, a lot of them don't. They just have an impulse button, which is press once to do the opposite to whatever state it's in at the moment. So if it's down, it'll go up. If it's up, it'll go down. So I think the HomeLink accessory receiver has two separate outputs. So you might be a bit risky because the car won't know what state the door is in. It'll just request it to open. But if your door only has one single input, you'd have to put those two relays in parallel. And then if the door was already open and the car approaches, it'll tell it to open again, which will then make it shut.
Yeah, that's what happened to my wife when she drove home one day. I'd been out through the garage and left the door up, and she drives into the driveway and just drives in and goes, "Oh, what's that scrunching?" It wasn't quite that bad, but no marks, fortunately.
But at least she stopped it by the sound of it as it was moving.
Yeah, I think it got onto the windscreen.
Cool.
Has anybody had any experience with Selfie? You know, you're living in the country and you've got need a booster for your telephone.
I know someone that has a booster supplied by Telstra in their house, and it's
Yeah, I've got one in my house, but it's called a Selfie. It's made in Queensland, and it operates through telecom.
Yes.
Or you can operate it through any sort of system, any system that you've got set up. But I've also got one in my car, in my other car. I've got
right.
And I've got it sitting up there. And when I go down to Perth or up to Perth, wherever you want to put it, or to Albany, it operates and boosts the signal quite satisfactorily. But I was wondering how I could actually transfer it into the Tesla, and whether it would actually work or whether it would interfere with the electronics in it.
It probably wouldn't interfere with the electronics per se. I mean, obviously all it needs is a constant 12-volt power supply, which is on the car. But you just need an auto electrician to sort that out. Because I presume it runs, or does it only run while the car's on? Well, so sort of on in the sense of in a nice car when the ignition's on, or maybe the accessories.
At the moment, it's set up when the car is turned on. But obviously, I mean, I've got an auto electrician up at Kojonup, and I talked to him about it, and he said, "Well, can you find out what what's likely, what their arrangements?"
Yeah. So for instance, there is a power supply that is switched by the car when the car is notionally on, and that's the 12-volt power source, the cigarette lighters, the 12-volt output. So that is switched by the car when it's in a state ready, when it's in park and you got your foot on the brake and the car sort of says it's on. That or unlocked and active, that 12-volt source turns on and stays on until you leave the car. So you could power that unit off that circuit.
Right. So there wouldn't be any harm to having a look at it.
Oh no, well there'd be very little load. Whatever that module is would be very little load, and yeah, there'd be no other harm to the car per se. I mean, you just got to make sure that module Telstra sanctioned module, because otherwise you might get in a bit of hot water with ACMA, the Australian Communications and Media Authority or whatever.
The self-eye unit that I've got in the house, and I've also got in the car. They're both of them are sanctioned by Telstra.
Oh, well, so, yeah, well, that's fine then. Yeah, yeah. So in that case, it'll be perfectly okay. So yeah, so the electrician could. Well, I mean, the other method too is, if you're not using that 12-volt power source, the cigarette lighter, for lack of a better term, or using the old-fashioned term, he could just make up a lead that supplies power to this unit via that connector, or via a connector he makes up that you plug into that outlet. So that way it's completely removable, so you can just take it out of the car whenever you need to, or if you needed to. So that your car would have no modification. It would just be it would be treated like a plug-in accessory.
Yeah, well, that's what I do at the moment with the car. If I want to move it to the truck, I've got a truck there, and I can shift the whole lot out just by unplugging it from the cigarette, sticking it in there.
Yeah.
Not that I do it that often, but I mean, when you're driving.
So you could notionally sort of install it somewhere, or fit it under the seat, or wherever is a good place for it to be. And if it's just powered via this plug, well, it means it's completely removable. You don't have to cut into any wiring or put any of those, double adapter piercing, where it sort of pierces into the wiring loom or anything. It's completely non-invasive.
Okay, but it doesn't need a cigarette. Well, I don't have a cigarette lighter, do I?
You've got that outlet in the car. I'm not familiar with the Model 3s. Is that in the center console, Richard?
In the center console, yes.
So where's
Shanghai cars?
Where's the plug for the?
In the center console.
In the center console.
In the older ones, it is, yeah.
There's a plug in there, is there?
Yeah,
like
not
a plug, a socket. There's actual. It's the female version of the cigarette lighter. So where you'd put the old-fashioned.
Can't say that I've ever seen one. Michael, have you ever seen one?
Yeah. So in the center console, you've got the push dash, and inside there you've got 2 USB ports, and I don't know if you've got one in there, but you've also got one then in the console under the armrest. So you've got under the armrest, and then you've got so you've got a number of USB ports plus a cigarette lighter.
I think Richard's taking us for a walk, but Richard, you've got the Fremont version, so that might be slightly different.
And information for Mike, it's a Merlin controller for the garage door. Merlin.
Cool.
I'm just looking for this 12-volt. Oh, there it is. Oh, that's very hidden. Hang on. So if you look there, it's just in. I haven't got what I'm looking at. Oh, hang on. Now you've got lost you.
No, we lost you. You've just gone off camera.
Just find Zoom. There we go.
There we go.
Can you change the camera view on Zoom?
I don't know. You might have to just sort of like wing it.
Yeah, I'll just wing it. So we're looking at the.
There's the screen. Yep, you can see the screen. Steering wheel.
Can you see? This is my center console. That's where I keep my baby wipes.
Nice,
it's just there. It's very hard to see.
Pan down a bit. Yeah. Go. Oh, there you go. There we can see it. Right. So, yes. Okay.
So you wouldn't normally see it.
Right. Yes.
So
nice spot.
It's front of your drop-in doodad.
Yes.
There you go. So it's there.
So it's at the front of it, facing backwards.
That's at the front. Yeah, this is the front of the car.
Yes.
there.
Yes. Yep. Nice.
All right, well, if that's the case, I can quite easily plug.
So it might be in your Chinese car. I don't know. We're going to have a look. Yeah. There you go.
Yeah, I think it would be. Yeah, I think it probably is, Richard. The difference on the Shanghai version is they've got a
Yeah, sliding.
double T charger that's
Yeah.
sloping upwards towards the front of the car. But I think
Yeah,
the rest
right.
is pretty much the same. So there you go,
Yeah.
John. Just have a look at that. Open that little door, and it's in the front.
In the front. Yeah.
Well,
Under your
I'll
arm.
do- I'll do an investigation and report back next time you have a meeting.
Well, which is next Wednesday. So we do this every Wednesday because we're gluttons for punishment.
And we don't have a life.
And in
Well,
fact,
I'll go and talk to the auto electrician, see if I can get it fitted.
oh well, it's easy because if he just hooks it up as a 12-volt plug, you just plug that into that socket, and Bob's your uncle. Easy peasy.
Get the plug from Super Cheap or anywhere. That's
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, look, thanks.
No worries. And speaking of gluttons for punishment, big shout out to Damon, who he watches us on YouTube in half-hour slots because he can't stand doing the whole lot in one hit. And shout out to Joseph. Big shout out to Ashley, who also watches us at a later time, and everyone else who watches us on YouTube. Make sure you put in a comment, like and subscribe, hit the notification bell. But yeah, any comments, whatever, whether we're awesome or we suck or whatever, it doesn't matter. Any bit of positive feedback is good.
And subscribe to our Patreon page, and eventually I'll give the money to Tokwa.
Yes, that's right. Yes, definitely. Yes, please do subscribe to Patreon. Especially you, Mr. Musk. We'd love a bit of extra funding.
One Tesla share a week is all we charge him.
Or a couple of Bitcoins, or even a Bitcoin or two.
Do you know if they actually ever do the draw for the Model Y with the referrals?
They allegedly do. And that's monthly, and there's a roadster every quarter.
Any idea where we find the results?
Well, given that there's no Model Ys available in Australia, I guess there's a pretty fine bet that we're not going to win one here.
Yeah, but people have won the Roadsters here, or whatever. So
that was on
when it
referrals,
becomes
yes.
available, they can get one. So I'm sure that if Mike won a Model Y next month, he might not get it till next year.
Yes. So I'm guessing, Mike, that you referred John, or
I
vice
certainly
versa?
did. And I somehow managed to get a referral from someone called Mel, who I have no idea who that is, but they appeared on my referral list, and I said, thank you very much.
Right. Well, shout out to Mel.
Yep.
Mike is very appreciative.
I am indeed. And if I win the Model Y, I will definitely take you for a ride, whoever you are.
You got a big heart there.
That's right.
And if it's a roadster that you end up winning, it'll be one hell of a ride.
Well, it's going to be one hell of an argument because we're in the same family.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, so I dare say, Mike, that's the last referral you'll get from John, because he'll be referring all his mates to himself.
Probably, yes, from now on.
Oh, dear.
But if he gets the Roadster, then he's going to have to do something with his Model 3 long range. So,
I don't think he'll care. He can just leave that on the side of the road, as you would with many farmers have their old implements on the corner of their property near their driveway. So you could have this slightly unloved Model 3 on the side of the driveway.
I doubt very much whether that's going to happen. And every time I drive into town, I just about get swamped.
Yes, what you learn is Tesla time, which used to be when Elon Musk promised that the new model would come out next year, he actually meant in 2 years' time. Well, no, he meant next year, but what would happen is it would take 2 years to actually come about. But Tesla time for Tesla owners is when you go to the shops for 5 minutes to get a carton of milk. And then as soon as you hop out of the car, someone goes, "Oh, is that a Tesla?" And it's like, "Oh, yes, it's a Tesla." "Oh, how long does it take to charge? And how far does it go?" And they, I mean, look, and I don't want to make fun of people that say that, because it's really cool that they're interested. But yeah, it can take a bit of extra time, because you got to do the right thing and, you know, not be one of those mean celebrities and go, "Don't want to talk about it." You know, you sort of chat to them, and yeah, it is good fun.
I've got a Model 3 Performance, and I can't tell you how many people I have just taken round the block and just blown their mind, and they just, it's awesome. I love it. It's great fun.
The thing is, you ruin them, because they'll never look at their hotted up petrol car the same way ever again, and they'll pine for your car forever.
Yeah, I don't mind.
Most people come in contact with our older people, and I must admit, every time I sort of look, it has got an automatic function on it. You know, it'll drive itself. Don't turn that on. Whatever you do, don't turn that on. So I'm not allowed to use it wherever I go.
So, well, as a more senior gentleman, do tell us that you've used autopilot and you're now used to it, because it's really easy to get used to.
Oh, I'm used to it. I drive it I use it all the time.
Yep.
But I can't convince anybody up here anyway.
John, just turn it on and don't tell them.
Just do it and then turn around and talk to them.
Well, the only time I ever did that was that it blew up, and I had a red steering wheel on the screen, and it turned me off, and it won't let me do it until I stop.
I didn't mean for 20 minutes.
Well, you know, well, I was pretty keen then. Time.
Did you go to autopilot jail? Did you? I love
Yes.
it.
Yes.
So the way you get out of jail, John, is you just simply pull over to the side of the road, briefly put the car in park, and then put it back into drive, and then all is forgiven, and you get another go. So autopilot jail is only for the duration of that drive. So just put it into park, back to drive, job done.
Harold, I did learn that the hard way. I got the red thing on the screen, and I got the blast from the noise because I had the sound turned up.
Yep. And
the end result was that I had to stop the car because I didn't know what the hell had happened.
I showed something new to one of my mates today that I've never done before, and it's the 4 times on the autopilot stalk. I haven't done that before.
The Rainbow Road.
Rainbow Road.
Yeah, do it. It's silly, but it's just Elon Musk. I love it.
It is silly. And if you go into Toy Box, so you press the up arrow and then go into entertainment or Toy Box, I think it is. And you do fart mode. Have you tried that, John?
No, but the kids have tried it. I've had both my grandkids up here all 5 grandkids have actually tried it actually. And they love it. They all love it, but I can't get it turned off.
And if I leave my grandkids sitting in the car and I just pop into the shop and come back, jump in the car, indicate, and they've turned on fart mode on indicate, the bastards.
I didn't show anybody how to do that.
Oh,
my wife showed them.
They'll work it out. Don't worry.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure.
Excellent. Cool. Well, I think unless we've got anything else to discuss, we might call it a bit of a night.
Is the US on daylight saving?
Yes, so they're early. So it's already been trading for the last half an hour.
Yeah.
And I think they are
they're down $4.
Yeah, very little, 0.6%. So they're basically pretty flat at the moment, which is sort of okay. You know, they're probably not going to really do a lot of movement until they get, one of the next factories up and running, really. But that's okay. you know, $687 is still not bad, considering
That's-
that.
What about
There's three-
after their earnings report?
Oh yeah, good
Oh,
news. They
yes.
always go down. Yeah, it went up 7%.
Yeah, true. I think I'm not sure when their earnings call is. It's usually a few weeks
Yeah, it's
after.
about 3 weeks. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's probably late this month,
Yeah. It's usually-
probably. And who knows? Yeah. You know, then we'll see what happens to the price. But you know, at this stage, it's sort of okay to be in this range, and then later on, it will absolutely take off, because you know all the analysts are their price targets are in the range of sort of the mid 700s up to $1,300.
Not JP Moron.
Is that $137? I think they.
I think
raised
they
it.
increased it to 158.
Oh right.
Woohoo!
Yeah.
Hey,
And it
don't
hit 700 this week.
But don't forget, this 688 is actually $3,444.
Yeah, it'd be pretty split.
That-
Yeah, absolutely.
That's the real price of it, which is just nuts. It's 10 times what I paid for mine. It's nuts.
Yes.
And
Yeah, that's
I
right.
didn't get
Yeah.
it that early, so it's just nuts.
Yeah, it's like it's a wonderful feeling when you get more than 1,000% price rise. It's like, yeah.
It's like putting your foot down in a Model 3 Performance. It's great.
You're going to
You
get a
can't
Plaid
handle
Plus,
it,
aren't you,
Richard.
Richard?
You
No,
could
I'm
just
definitely
keep
not going to
saying,
get
"I'll
a
look
Plaid
after it
Plus.
for you."
It's too big and it's too expensive, but I've got nowhere to park something like that.
What's
Fine,
that?
I'm
Plaid
over-
Plus Model 3, Model S.
Yeah, that's performance is ridiculous.
Yes. 2
9
seconds.
seconds, 9-second quarter mile is just nuts. And that's not
What
even
a-
the Roadster.
Yeah, but hang on. What about the Cybertruck, Richard? So, surely you're going to get one of those.
I'd have to build it. I'd have to live in the country. John, you need to get a Cybertruck.
Yeah.
Well, I've got a straight road down here between Albany and Perth.
Sorry, say that again.
They've got some nice straight roads down here between.
Yeah,
Albany
yeah.
and-
Well, a Cybertruck would be great on that. It can carry 1.5 tons in the tray, and it can
Yeah.
tow 7 tons. Although I think in Australia it's probably 4.5 tons.
My
But
son-in-law on the farm here, and when the family came up, they were trying to talk him into getting a Cybertruck, but he's really locked into diesel, I'm afraid.
well, don't worry. As soon as the Cybertruck,
Has he driven your car yet?
Yesterday, he drove it, and he frightened the living daylights out of me. 147 kilometres an hour.
So, but why does he like diesel after he's done that?
Because it's power. It's slow, but it's power. You know, he's got 3 tractors. What do you call
Has he looked at a Rivian?
it? Has he what?
Has he looked at a Rivian? Have you heard of it?
No.
Oh yeah, the up and coming.
Yeah, if you're not sure about a Cybertruck, it's the other American truck that looks pretty good that I'm probably leaning towards more than the Cybertruck now.
Ooh, really?
Yeah, I know you're all going to hate me, but
What more?
yeah, I don't know. I just find it a lot more compelling. Huh?
Nothing.
I'll watch this back on YouTube and see what you said.
He said more after you said hate me. He said more.
Is it even possible?
Oh, anything's possible, Richard.
And there was
I'm sure the Cybertruck is. Sorry.
there was a 3.5 ton or 4 ton truck driving up and down the freeway about 2 months ago, and I pulled up by the side of it. It was clearly not a fuel vehicle, not a pit vehicle, because it was quiet and sitting there, and by the side of was sitting by the side of me in the freeway, and I was doing 80 an hour, and suddenly it took off and went, and I'd never seen anything go like it. It was before I actually got involved in testing. And that was a truck. It was a loaded truck, so I don't know what it was. It was a Mercedes.
That's interesting. Yeah,
right.
no, well, that could have been.
Well, I don't know, but you know where the fuel tanks are on the side of the vehicle, they're usually on the left. It had containers for the what appeared to be batteries.
Right, that's interesting.
Hydrogen. It wasn't hydrogen, or
Might
I
be
was just-
hydrogen.
Part of it.
No, it wouldn't be hydrogen because I don't think hydrogen doesn't have a lot of peak power because you're relying on the fuel cell. You need a very large fuel cell to get a lot of power all at once. Yeah, that's interesting, John.
Well, I used to manage the Causeway Depot, and we had 3 fuel cell buses down there. They certainly didn't take off like a rocket. They,
Yeah.
they were. But
Was that the Ballard? Was that the Ballard buses?
that was the fuel cells for the bus. Mercedes supplied the body.
Yes,
and,
that's right.
And the gearbox.
Yep.
And Metrobus did all the for it and everything.
Yeah, because
We had 3 of those, and one of them is still there. We've got it in the museum at Whiteman Park.
Yeah, because what was ironic with that is that the WA government paid a lot for that trial, and they were obliged at the end of that period to dismantle the fuel cell. They couldn't keep it going. Like they had to stop the trial and dismantle the buses, which was
well, they still got the fuel cells went back to Canada.
Yep.
They went back over there. The vehicles themselves, Mercedes insisted that the gearboxes and everything had to be dismantled, that were put into other Mercedes buses, and we had those, and the bodies were actually dismantled, or I don't know exactly what happened to them. I think they were dismantled and taken back to Mercedes in Germany. But one of them is still retained, and we still retain it out there.
Yeah.
So it's got it did have its gearbox in it, but that was dismantled as well, and that was put into a vehicle over at one of the depots anyway. Got given the gearbox.
Yep. Yeah. Cool.
But
Yeah,
the body is still there. You can see it. We tow it around and show it to people.
Yeah. I remember following those buses, and the cool thing was you sort of saw, well, basically steam coming out of this exhaust pipe, because that was its only byproduct was steam.
Yep.
Which is pretty cool.
And
the Malaga depot had the hydrogen refueling station.
Yeah, it always amused me that they produced the hydrogen down at Kwinana.
Yeah.
They put it into tankers and drove it up right past Parliament House. My wish was that one of the trucks would actually blow up. It went past. I mean, it's just stupid. They were driving it right through the middle of town, and it went from Kwinana right up to Malaga, and then they decanted the hydrogen into the stationary cylinders.
Yeah, and those tankers, I think they had 9 cylinders. They were like in a 3x3 array, all painted red. Quite small diameter, but quite long.
Yeah, in the back themselves. Yeah.
In the back of the semi, on the actual trailer. Yeah. Yeah, cool. Hey, Lester, welcome back, albeit late.
Yes.
Sorry, you're muted there, Lester. You got to unmute. No, you're still muted. No, you're not.
Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah, I just wanted to tell you about a experience I had down at the Tesla place in Aussie Park.
Yes.
I went down to get a back mat for my car, and I left the wife in the car, and I was talking to one of the guys about hundreds and hundreds of threes that were down there at the time. And next thing, I discovered how loud the burglar alarm in the car was. The missus decided she wanted to get out of the car. I'd left her in it, and it screamed like anything. And I was wondering, is there a way to actually turn the burglar alarm off or something? Because she was sitting in the car, but I had the little key thing with me.
Yep. I think there is. I think there is actually a software button.
Okay.
So if you press the car symbol on the screen,
Yeah.
and then go to safety and security, I think there is a setting to turn the car alarm off.
Oh, yeah, so I can vacate, and if because she opened the door.
Yes, and the same thing happened to my wife too, because I hopped out of the car and I'd forgotten that I'd had the key fob in my pocket. And apologies for Model 3 owners, but with the S and X, they've got like it's like a little Matchbox toy car, like it's a little sort of small version of the car, which is the remote control. And that basically locks and unlocks the car. And you can actually, by the way, buy it for the Model 3. So if you don't want to use your phone as the key fob or the credit card fob, you can actually buy a Model 3 remote control. And one of the benefits is you can actually then open the front or the boot with the remote. And I'll just, sorry for this little aside, Lester, but we'll get to it in a sec. I'll just bring it up on the Tesla shop, just by way of segue. So if you go to tesla.com and then go shop, and then you can click to accessories for a Model 3 and keys. And you've got the key fob. It's $235, but it's basically like a little version of your car. So there's a button on the
front
bonnet, yeah, on the front, and also one on the boots on the back. And I think there's a center one where you can lock or unlock the car. But it also it's a Bluetooth remote. So as you approach the car, it'll unlock it, and as you walk away from it, it'll lock. But yeah, so I basically walked away from the car while my wife was in it, and of course, as far as the car was concerned, it thought it should lock itself and turn the aircon off, and it was a hot day. So then my wife opened the door, and then the alarm went off. And what it does is the horn starts beeping quite loudly, and the stereo then cranks up with I forget what classical music thing it is, but it starts playing all this cacophony of sound inside that you can't really stand.
Yeah, well, everybody in the Tesla place went running back towards my car, including me. I mean, and the guy said, not Harry, but the other guy. He said, "Oh, at least you know what your burglar alarm sounds like now." Oh, unbelievably loud.
It's loud. Yeah, it's loud.
But wouldn't we call the back a fruit?
Trunk.
The front a fruit, a front boot rather than a trunk? In America, it's a trunk, and here it's a boot, isn't it?
Yeah, but a fruit sounds weird too. It's sort of
totally weird.
A boot is all right, but a fruit.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys are aware, but I've got a powered front on mine now. I put a power, but even so, I just say, "Hey Siri, open the front," and the car opens.
Okay.
So it can be done without your key fob. So just through the commands app.
I do that through the stats app.
Yeah.
For the rear, but I wouldn't want to link that on my smartwatch or anything to the front. Because,
why is that?
Because imagine you're doing 110 k's an hour.
It can't open if you move. No, it won't
I
open
know.
if you're moving. And also, if you're
Okay.
inside the, if you're a midget, you're inside the front and you're moving, it still won't open if you press the button.
Well, that's
They've
good.
done
I mean, that
tests.
happens a lot. So
So
But
it's possible. Yeah.
You can't get that on a Samsung Watch or Android phone. It only works with Apple and Siri,
is that
unfortunately.
right?
Right.
Who knew?
So you need to change your phone. Okay, next.
Not likely, thank you. Yuck.
Who's the best?
I had a Samsung for a few months, and my wife's 60th birthday came around. I took all these beautiful photos, and next morning they were gone. Nothing, zero. So I immediately sold the phone, got into the Apple, back into Apple. Couldn't believe it.
Good lad.
Lost it all. Just weren't there. Well, the Apple, they've gone up to the cloud and they're on your iPad next morning.
Yeah, well, it's the same with my Android.
Well,
So
it didn't do it.
I
didn't do it
consider
for me.
Apple like an ice card. Never go back to it.
Well, I'm watching you guys on an iPad with my Apple Watch and my Apple phone.
Yeah, that's right. On the iPad? Yeah. But we won't even go there. So
Dan, we've lost Harold.
we have.
We're dead in the water.
Quick, everybody leave.
It's all that beer he's been drinking, borrowing.
Yeah, he doesn't know what's going on.
I'm sure Apple's going to have an update over the air to be like a Samsung. So yeah.
What, worse?
Better, of course. Over the air update.
A downgrade.
The full self phoning, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Nothing's perfect.
I
might
think
go.
if you've got an Apple computer, then you obviously go with an Apple phone. But you know, I've got an Android and a PC, so they seem to match up okay.
They're great. They're both crap. See ya.
Richard,
Go. Talking technology though, has anyone got a 3D scanner?
No.
No, I've got a 3D printer, not a 3D scanner.
Pardon?
Yeah.
Say that again.
I'm looking for someone with a 3D scanner. I can, yeah, there's something I want to, actually, I'll show you. Keep talking amongst yourselves. Well, I got the original Model S aero wheels from the States. Yeah, and we just did a little road trip down to Denmark. Oh, damn it! Now, how do I turn
your background off?
Yeah, I can't remember how to do that. But then, yeah, so those are the original Model S aero wheels,
Yes.
which I had spray painted black, so they don't look quite as bad. But I've only got one of these. How do you turn the background off? I know this is looking really.
If you
amateur.
click on the video, there's a little up arrow.
All right, hang on. No, I've got it.
There you go.
Okay, yeah, so I've got that. Yeah, those are the original, Model S aero wheels. But I've only got one of the cap covers, so I want to get that 3D scanned and then printed. Now, EJet I contacted earlier, and they said they'll do a scan for $160 plus GST, and then print them for $120 plus GST each. But that's quite a lot for just
Bloody hell.
caps.
Yes.
Yeah. But you know,
Look,
they seem to be.
I've got a number of 3D scanners.
Oh yeah. Okay.
And yeah, if you wanted, I could print that out for you as well.
and he'd only charge $100 for the scan and $90 for each one.
That's right.
I'd rather it went to a Tesla, but I'd rather it went to a Tesla person than the.
And then you got to get the spring clip for it.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
fine.
I can't
Yeah,
3D print that for you.
Yeah, I'm sure Bunnings can help me there.
The spring
cool,
clip
Mike.
is
Yeah,
the
yeah.
same. They're the same clips as the caps that you get off the store. If you buy the what is it called? The Model 3 Aero wheel cap kit.
Oh, yeah, okay.
So the middle bit has that same thing. So you
Yeah.
literally just pull that off and
Well,
stick that on.
here's what I wanted to do as well. I actually wanted to just remove that and just have like that as a flush surface. I wasn't fussed about the Tesla logo there. You know, if you're going to 3D print something, why not actually make it?
That's going to cost you double.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I'm sure.
Double nothing is how much?
That's right. Yeah.
Actually, it'll be cheaper for you, Richard, just to get some flour and water and make a bit of dough and just push it in there and just mold it yourself.
I actually think that the other option, which probably would be far cheaper, would be actually to take a cast of it.
Oh, right. Okay.
So,
yeah, right. I didn't even think of that. Yeah, okay.
So I could make a cast of that, and then I could produce you like hundreds of them.
Well, in silicon, so it's removable.
I need 750.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Yeah. So you get like alginate or whatever. Depends. Or you can get pinky cell, whatever it's called, casting stuff, and you just. It's like a silicone thing. You cast it and you cut it out. And
yeah, right.
And what would you flow into the mold? What would you make it out of?
Well, I mean, there's a whole bunch of different plastics you could use to do that. They would probably all work. I mean, it's not going to get especially hot or anything, so you know.
Quite the opposite, really.
But if you want to sling me your details, see if I can.
Sure, man.
I will get in contact, and because I can do all of that for you.
So why can you do all that, Mike? What's your expertise, mate?
Because I'm a nerd.
That's what we need down here.
Well, we already know that. You've got a Tesla, so you must be. No.
Yeah, pretty much. So yeah, no, I got into 3D printing and had to make a whole bunch of different prototypes of stuff for people because opened my mouth and said, I could 3D scan that and print it out for you, and it just the complexity, the detail I needed was too high, so I just ended up casting it. So yeah, it's
No, I'm happy to chuck you whatever you want. No problem. I'd rather keep it in the community.
You know the Indian heads on the bus. I think it was the Lions. Anyway, a lot of the English buses had an Indian head that actually sat on the radiator. Michael made half a dozen of those.
Yeah, I'll show you.
Oh, really? God, that's a bit of trivia I didn't know. Okay, that's cool.
We couldn't produce them, so he made them for us.
Yeah, wow. Okay, far out.
Well, I think he's got one there somewhere.
Yeah, it looks like he's going to get it.
Well, if he's still got one, it'd be worth having a look at.
But yeah, that's a good idea, is actually to cast it, because that's probably simpler than trying to 3D print it, because
well these turned
out. What my father's talking about is this.
Oh yeah.
All right.
So that's essentially exactly what the Indian head off his bus looked like, and that's the raw plastic.
Wow.
Out of it. So
amazing. Okay.
Actually quite detailed and everything. It's got all of because it was all hand carved in the original one, and it's got all of the detail. Obviously the bottom is not accurate, but
so Richard, that'd go quite nicely in your wheel cover if you just put a set of those on.
I agree.
Yeah. It's actually about the right size too. So,
I'm trying to get better efficiency, not worse. But then it's
petrol efficiency.
Factor.
Petrol efficiency.
Well, I noticed that you've painted it. You've accepted that it's aesthetically not as pleasing as it could be.
Oh yeah, no, they look like a heap of crap, but yeah, They look better in gloss black.
Oh dear. Yeah,
Well, that's when I'm going to bed.
Good plan.
yeah, it's probably a good time to wrap up here because it's already about 24 past 10. So yeah, thanks everyone for coming this week. It's been awesome, lots of fun.
See y'all next week.
Yeah, and for all you in YouTube land, remember to like and subscribe, hit the notification bell, and yeah, look after yourselves and look forward to seeing you all next week. So have a wonderful one, and we'll catch you back soon.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah, good night.
Yeah.
Give it the Tesla tea.
That's it. Nice one. See ya.